Chapter 266. That night, Lu Qin slept soundly, deeply, and comfortably. In the dream he seemed to have the whole world, extremely satisfied and comfortable, and only wanted to sleep for a long time and not wake up. However, the biological clock formed by long-term fixed habits stubbornly urged him to wake up. When Lu Qin opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was Qin Fei, lying in his arms. This beauty was still asleep. Her eyes were closed, her long eyelashes were curled up, and her breath was long and even very light on his chin and neck, a little ticklish. The faint morning light shone through the thin gauze curtains and shone on her almost flawless face. It was an intoxicating beauty. What made Lu Qin's heart beat faster was that Qin Fei's graceful body was close to him. Although separated by a long skirt, he still completely felt the amazing taste of coexistence of elasticity and softness. It was a beautiful feeling that could not be described with words. How could this be? Lu Qin tried hard to recall with his slightly hungover and dizzy head, and finally remembered that he drank a lot of wine with Qin Hanyang and the others in the Black Crow bar last night, and it was Li Feiyu who sent him back. Then he returned to the hotel, opened the door, and it seemed that Qin Fei was in his room, until now. Lu Qin, who was completely sober, curled his lips slightly, and like a thief, he secretly leaned over and kissed her fragrant lips twice, 3 times. Qin Fei woke up, and in a daze she was pressed under Lu Qin's body and wantonly molested. She struggled and resisted a few times, but helplessly gave up resistance, until her passion was aroused and she responded enthusiastically, enjoying the private intimacy of the two of them. However, when Lu Qin put his big hand into the skirt and tried to go further, he was firmly defended. Qin Fei bit Lu Qin's lips and coquettishly said, "Don't go too far." Her eyes were so charming that water was about to drip out, her face was flushed and her black hair was scattered. In fact, she did not have much strength to resist. But Lu Qin could feel her determination, so he had to resist and stop. Qin Fei smiled gently, kissed him hard and said, "That's a good boy." Lu Qin smiled bitterly. Qin Fei suddenly frowned, sniffed and said with disgust, "Ah, you smell too strong, go take a bath, I have to go back." Speaking of this, she became even more shy, pushed Lu Qin's chest and said angrily, "It's all your fault." Last night, the reason why Qin Fei stayed to accompany Lu Qin was that the latter was very drunk, and she was worried that something might happen. A drunk person's ability to protect themselves was very weak. Even if they were lying on the bed, they would still be in danger. For example, it was not uncommon for people to vomit and suffocate, which led to tragedies. They needed to be taken care of. Qin Fei knew this, so how could she go back by herself? Lu Qin was touched and he smiled and hugged her, saying, "Let's go take a bath together." The soft flesh on his waist was pinched hard, reminding him to pay attention to harmony and not go too far. They continued to entangle on the bed for a while, and then Lu Qin reluctantly let go of Qin Fei. Qin Fei secretly ran back to her room. Fortunately, their rooms were adjacent. Lu Qin went to the bathroom and took a comfortable hot shower, washing away the smell of alcohol and hangover. After changing into sportswear, he went to morning exercise in high spirits. A new day had begun and today's shooting was more important. Everyone was working hard. In the busy time, everyone said goodbye to 2015, and the clock pointed to 2016. A new year had begun. The crew of Autumn in My Heart didn't even celebrate the New Year's Day and nervously shot the remaining episodes. Because this urban romance TV series was really popular, not only on the internet, but also in the TV series market, making countless people inside and outside the industry surprised and exclaimed in disbelief. Hygiene TV was even preparing to broadcast 3 episodes from 2 to 3 on weekends. Weekend dramas were broadcast on weekends, usually with 2 episodes, and a few had 1 or 3 episodes. 3 episodes were broadcast on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or the ratings were too bad, speeding up the broadcast of the purchased episodes, making valuable time to replace the new episodes, and often adjusting the broadcast time. Another situation was that the ratings were too good, and the audience and advertisers were extremely demanding. 2 episodes were not enough. Under such circumstances, 3 episodes in a row could not only satisfy the audience, but also bring in rolling profits for the TV station. After Autumn in My Heart became popular, the most direct beneficiary was undoubtedly Hygiene TV, a satellite TV station that originally had a very weak presence. The advertising price at the beginning and end. Originally, Hygiene TV's weekend primetime slot between 8:30 and 9:30 was quoted at 3,000 renminbi per second, and a 15-second advertisement cost 45,000 renminbi. But this was only the public quotation. The actual price that the agent could get was at least 50% off, basically between 1,200 to 1,500 renminbi per second. If it was a long-term custom-made package, the price was even lower. Such a price, not to mention compared with the giant central TV, would be nothing compared with Beijing satellite TV. To put it bluntly, Beijing Television's several non-satellite programs also had higher advertising fees than Hygiene TV. Of course, Hygiene TV did not want to keep eating the leftovers of others. Unfortunately, they could not come up with a good program and they could not compete with others for popular TV series, so they could only watch their peers eat the meat. Autumn in My Heart was undoubtedly a loophole that Hygiene TV picked up. It was originally thought to be a small loophole, but it turned out to be a big loophole and they made a lot of money. On December 26th and 27th, the 5th and 6th episodes of Autumn in My Heart were broadcast, and the ratings directly broke through the 0.50% mark, reaching 0.51% and 0.55% respectively. The relevant people of Hygiene TV and others were directly smitten. The fastest to react was the advertising department. In the face of the swarms of advertisers, they raised the bloody butcher's knife without hesitation and doubled the price of next week's opening and ending advertisements, especially the opening advertisement, which was directly put up as a sold-out sign. In fact, they had already raised the price once before, but everyone underestimated the power of Autumn in My Heart. On January 2, 2016, the 7th episode of Autumn in My Heart was broadcast. The day before, the annual drama, My Heart is Soaring on Shonan TV, the leader of the local satellite TV stations in China, premiered. This TV series was jointly shot by Shonan TV and Xiangjiang Satellite TV in the mainland, bringing together many stars and artists from both sides of the Taiwan Strait and South Korea. The total investment of the first 35 episodes was more than 100 million renminbi, and all of them had been completed. Shonan TV was once the double hegemon of the variety and TV series market among the local satellite TV stations. Its self-produced and imported TV series were widely popular in the country, creating a large number of idols and stars, and the ratings were so high that even Central TV was surprised. However, in recent years, Shonan TV encountered fierce competition that had never been seen in the industry. Variety and TV series were facing serious market pressure, and had already lost the wireless glory of dominating the TV screen in the past. Of course, Shonan TV would not be willing to be beaten down. My Heart is Soaring was their ambitious work, and they were ready to open their doors and become popular in 2016. With strong strength and strong marketing channels, the premiere of My Heart is Soaring, which was filled with stars and was well produced, was very successful. The first episode's ratings reached 0.52%, and it was unparalleled among its peers. Its producer even said that My Heart is Soaring would not have a problem breaking the 1% rating mark, and that Shonan TV's target for this TV series was 1.5% to 2%. In the current market structure, any TV station, including Central TV's TV series, a TV series with an average rating of more than 0.5% would be considered a popular TV series, 1% would be considered a huge hit, 2% would be considered a phenomenon, and any higher than that would be considered a national TV series. Shonan TV's ambition was to make My Heart is Soaring a huge hit, and it would be a phenomenon. And on the same day and at the same time, on the 2nd of January, My Heart is Soaring and Autumn in My Heart is Soaring collided. Mars collided with Earth. On the morning of the 3rd of January, the traffic on New Channel's official website increased greatly. Many people, including a large number of netizens, were anxiously waiting for the latest ratings rankings to be released. They wanted to see the results of the head-on battle between My Heart is Soaring and Autumn in My Heart is Soaring. Before this, the industry generally believed that Autumn in My Heart is Soaring was a well-deserved dark horse, but its momentum would definitely be restrained and suppressed when it collided with Shonan TV's annual drama. Shonan TV had already spent tens of millions on the promotion of My Heart is Soaring, and all sorts of marketing activities were carried out vigorously. Moreover, the investors of this TV series were all big shots in the industry, and with so many celebrities joining the cast, how could a low-budget sadomasochistic TV series like Autumn in My Heart is Soaring be a match for them? Some people were even gloating. If Autumn in My Heart is Soaring could be aired a month earlier and avoid My Heart is Soaring, its final results would definitely be much higher, and it might even have the chance to become a huge hit. Now that Autumn in My Heart is Soaring was ruthlessly suppressed, it would definitely affect the ratings. At 12 o'clock, the number of visits to New Channel's official website reached its peak. The latest episode's ratings were updated on time. My Heart is Soaring, 0. 57%/0. 52%/002/003 Autumn in My Heart is Soaring, 1. 01%/0. 55%/001/001. Autumn in My Heart is Soaring, 0. 57% and Autumn in My Heart is Soaring, 1. 1% and Autumn in My Heart is Soaring, 1. 1% and Autumn in My Heart is Soaring. How was this possible? There was an uproar in the industry. Many people were in disbelief and even suspected that there was something wrong with New Channel's official website. It was normal for Autumn in My Heart is Soaring to increase from 0. 52% in the first episode to 0. 57% in the second episode, and an increase of 0. 5% could be considered a small success. It might not be able to satisfy Shonen TV's expectations, but there was still a lot of potential to be dug out. But what the hell was the jump from 0. 55% to 1. 1% for Autumn in My Heart is Soaring? It directly broke through 1%. It was definitely a huge hit. Many people in the industry who predicted that Autumn in My Heart is Soaring would encounter a strong resistance were slapped in the face. And it was too ruthless, too ruthless. Chapter 267. Shonen TV was at the top of all the satellite TV stations, and its success was not due to luck. It was also the TV station that paid the most attention to marketing and promotion. Before any major program or TV series was broadcast, they would spend a lot of money to hype and promote it, firmly attracting the attention of the public. And the investment in marketing in exchange for a high viewership rating that surpassed its peers, and a shocking amount of advertising revenue. This formed a virtuous cycle, which made Shonen TV's position in the industry difficult to be shaken. This set of marketing methods was also played to perfection by them, and could be called a model in the industry. As the opening drama of 2016, Shonen TV invested a lot of money into My Heart Soar, and it was hyped up on the internet half a month before it was broadcast. Especially on Wave's blog, many internet promoters and verified accounts were adding fuel to the fire for My Heart Soar, and Autumn in My Heart Soar was a dark horse, which inevitably aroused the vigilance of some people. Therefore, in the blog there were blog posts that were openly praising My Heart Soar while secretly criticizing Autumn in My Heart Soar. There were also so-called market analysts who thought that the rise of Autumn in My Heart Soar was only taking advantage of the lack of big dramas in the domestic TV market at the end of 2015. When Autumn in My Heart Soar met Autumn in My Heart Soar, it was bound to show its true colors. This kind of argument was very popular and even caused a debate among the fans. But when the new viewership ranking came out, those who were criticizing Autumn in My Heart Soar became a joke, and those who swore that the viewership of this TV series would fall were slapped in the face. On the night of January 3, 2016, Autumn in My Heart Soar aired its 8th episode. The next day the ranking was updated and Autumn in My Heart Soar was at 1.21%, firmly occupying the throne of the viewership ratings. This time the doubting comments on the internet all disappeared. No one could deny that Autumn in My Heart Soar had become a hot new drama, and it was not impossible for it to reach the phenomenal level. On the same day the 3rd episode of My Heart Soar had a viewership rating of 0.54%, which actually dropped by 0.3% compared to the previous episode. Be it the internet promoters, the so-called market analysts, or even Shonen TV themselves were all silent. The film and TV market was always cruel. It didn't mean that you could make a hit movie or TV series by spending hundreds of millions of dollars to invite big stars. It wasn't unbelievable for a small-budget TV series to beat a big production. Of course, in most cases, big productions would crush smaller ones. Autumn in My Heart Soar, which only had a tenth of the investment and promotion of Autumn in My Heart Soar, was undoubtedly a miracle. When the viewership ratings for this episode came out, idealism began to spread in the blogs. Luchin was Shonen TV's nemesis. The relationship between the two sides dates back to when Luchin first made his debut. Shonen TV's Super Singer excluded Luchin. As a result, Luchin joined Singing China, which also made Shonen TV lose face. At that time, the ratings of Singing China surpassed Super Singer. Now Shonen TV's annual drama hit Luchin's self-written and self-acted Autumn in My Heart Soar. Not only did it not knock down the latter, but it was also beaten up by the latter, which really lost face. Although the appearance of this statement has a hint of ulterior motives, it does not deviate from the facts. In another battlefield also related to TV ratings, Autumn in My Heart Soar also won a big victory. That was QQ Video. Autumn in My Heart Soar was broadcast simultaneously on Hygiene Satellite TV and QQ Video Online. Simultaneous broadcasting on TV and the Internet is the usual mode of operation for many TV series at present. Although the latter has greatly reduced the ratings of the former, it is an inevitable result. With the rise of the Internet era, more and more young people have abandoned TV sets and are accustomed to obtaining information and entertainment through computers and the Internet. This huge market can't be ignored by any capital. Autumn in My Heart Sore sold the online broadcasting rights to QQ Video. On the one hand, it was to quickly recover funds, on the other hand, it was also to seize this market and expand its influence. Otherwise, if it was only limited to TV broadcasting, it would never be as popular as it is now. Moreover, the phenomenon of piracy of online films and TV series has been repeatedly banned. Movies are better, and there are few piracy during the release period. TV dramas are simply a disaster area, so now more and more TV dramas will be broadcast simultaneously, in order to reduce losses and expand the impact. The competitor of Autumn in My Heart Sore, in QQ Video, is the latter's self-made drama Sweetheart President. The investment of Sweetheart President is also big than Autumn in My Heart Sore, and as the own son of QQ Video, it is definitely more favored than Autumn in My Heart Sore, which was bought. The strength of resources tilted is completely different. At the beginning, the number of views of Sweetheart President steadily surpassed Autumn in My Heart Sore. However, with the popularity of Autumn in My Heart Sore on the TV screen, the situation changed quickly. The number of views of Autumn in My Heart Sore rose steadily, and soon caught up with Sweetheart President, which showed a declining trend. This made QQ Video very embarrassed, and it had to use technical means to control the competition between the two sides. But netizens are not fools, and the audience who watch online dramas are not idiots. Sweetheart President has been criticized to pieces, and the rating of QQ Video has fallen below 5 points, while the rating of Autumn in My Heart Sore has been hovering around 9 points. Compared with TV stations, the biggest advantage of video websites is interaction. Netizens are very active in commenting on online dramas, especially what they like, which will often be discussed in full swing on the Internet, and then form a strong fan group. The fan circle of Autumn in My Heart Sore has expanded like a snowball. They will not simply use boring data to judge the quality of a TV series. It is enough to rely on their feelings. Therefore, when they saw that Autumn in My Heart Sore, which was highly praised, was suppressed by Sweetheart President, which was half dead, countless people were indignant and scolded the shamelessness of QQ Video in the comment area. QQ Video is so funny. It's obviously only 10 million views, but when I wake up, it's over 100 million. Sweetheart President is trash, QQ Video is shameless. Sisters, let's push Autumn in My Heart Sore together, and victory belongs to us. Why don't I feel surprised at all? Because it's normal. I just want to say one thing, I hope Lu Chin doesn't put his next work on QQ Video. Yes, let QQ play by itself and get 10 billion views. In addition to cursing QQ Video, fans also said their feelings after watching. Many fans said that they all scolded and cried while watching. Many times they were stimulated by the plot, but they wanted to continue watching as if they were possessed, and were completely reluctant to give up. Especially female fans who accounted for a large proportion. They put themselves in the shoes of Eun Hui, deeply liked Juanshi, and were moved by Taishi's infatuation and sincerity. Then they hated Eun Hui so much that their teeth itched, and their emotions were controlled by the story in the play. In many people's view, the story of the emotional entanglement of the four corners was very melodramatic, and they couldn't figure out why it had such a high ratings, but the audience's preference was like this. Once they were moved, they would be fascinated, and there was no reason to explain it. Another most important point was that the actors of the main characters were all excellent. Chen Feier's performance of Eun Hui has attracted a large number of male and female fans. Her acting skills may not be the best, but her appearance and temperament were perfect. Lu Chen's performance of Eun Hui's appearance and acting skills were impeccable. How popular he is now can be seen from the increase in the number of fans on Wave's blog. And Zhang Liwei, Hu Yang, Zhang Juanji, Yi Mingmei, all became famous overnight. Under such circumstances, QQ Video couldn't withstand the pressure, and was scolded half to death by the fans of Autumn in My Heart Sore, so they had to give up continuing to suppress it. Otherwise, if they were too biased and annoyed Lu Chen and Chen Fei, how could they cooperate next time? It was said that Yushir Video regretted missing the drama so much that its intestines turned green, and it was eager for QQ to kill itself. In fact, the popularity of Autumn in My Heart Sore was also a good thing for QQ Video. It was nothing more than losing face. And now, as strong as QQ, it also had to bow its head in front of Autumn in My Heart Sore. Without the cheating of the website, the momentum of Autumn in My Heart Sore was unstoppable. Because the online drama could be played repeatedly during the contract period, the number of views of Autumn in My Heart Sore quickly surpassed Sweetheart President. By January 4th, the total number of views of Autumn in My Heart Sore exceeded 500 million, surpassing Sweetheart President by nearly 100 million. This data was taken by Chen Feier's fans to ridicule in Jing Yao's blog. Jing Yao was the heroine of Sweetheart President. In an interview with reporters, she insinuated that Chen Feier didn't know how to act and thought that Sweetheart President could beat Autumn in My Heart Sore. As a result, now her face was slapped loudly, and she no longer dared to say a word. Faced with the cynicism of countless fans, she simply closed the comment and pretended to be a dead dog. As a result, her personal tieba was immediately blown up. In fact, it was not only Jing Yao who was slapped in the face, but also Alchuang Pictures and Baolong Pictures, which had rejected Lu Qin. The two were reduced to laughingstocks in the circle and were regarded as examples of people who had eyes but failed to recognize the golden inlaid jade. With the high ratings on the screen and the popularity on demand on the internet, Autumn in My Heart Sore could be said to have soared to the sky. Many people could no longer sit still and took action. Beijing TV station and Zhidong TV station came to the door again, as well as many domestic satellite TV stations, to compete for the rebroadcast rights of Autumn in My Heart Sore. The variety channel of Beijing TV station also belonged to the ranks of regretful people. Originally, they were the most likely to win the TV series, but in the end they just missed it. At the same time, there were also investors, advertisers, brokerage companies. Chapter 268. Most of the TV series produced by film and television companies were sold directly to TV stations. Although the terms of the contract were different, the main thing was the first broadcast rights and rebroadcast rights. Big stars, big productions, and popular dramas, the first broadcast rights would often be inflated to sky-high prices, often starting from tens of millions. Sometimes a single TV station couldn't buy it, so they would buy the shared rights with multiple TV stations. For this type of drama, the price of the rebroadcast rights was unlikely to be higher than the first broadcast rights, even if the ratings were very high. But there was another type of drama, the first broadcast rights were sold very cheaply, and they couldn't earn back the cost at all. But after the broadcast, the ratings soared, and the price of the rebroadcast rights would inevitably rise, and even far exceed the first broadcast. Autumn in My Heart was undoubtedly such a TV series with infinite potential. Putting aside the VM agreement, the cost of hygiene satellite TV to buy the first broadcast rights of Autumn in My Heart was not high. The price of 6 million for 20 episodes could only allow the three investors to recover less than half of the total cost. Whether it was Lu Qin, Chen Feier, or Chinda Pictures, they didn't particularly care about this because there were still rebroadcast rights. However, no one thought that Autumn in My Heart would become so popular that it made people stunned. The breakthrough of the domestic ratings of 1% made this urban romance drama quickly become a hot topic, blowing up blogs and WeChat moments, and the actors in the drama became famous overnight. As for many television stations, they saw a golden cash cow. Autumn in My Heart was a weekend drama that was filmed and broadcast at the same time. The frequency of 2 episodes a week was actually not conducive to the increase of ratings. Under the same circumstances, it often couldn't compete with conventional series. Now that it had achieved such a high ratings, its potential was great to be dug out. If it was rebroadcast continuously, it wouldn't be incredible for the ratings to surpass the premiere. Because a TV series' reputation needed to be brewed, especially for mainstream TV audiences. If they missed the previous episodes, they would pay special attention to the rebroadcast. If others said it was good, then it must be good. Under such circumstances, the rebroadcast rights of Autumn in My Heart, which had not yet been fully filmed, immediately became popular. As many as a dozen TV stations rushed to contact and negotiate. Among them, the most urgent and powerful were undoubtedly Beijing Television Station and Zhidong Television Station. On January 7th, representatives sent by Beijing Television Station came to Jinling to discuss the purchase of the rebroadcast rights with the three parties. One of the representatives was Guru Wei. Guru Wei is a music producer for Beijing Television and once served as the music director of Singing China. He is very familiar with Lu Qin and Chen Feier and has a good friendship. Originally, buying a TV series like this had nothing to do with Guru Wei. That was the job of the program department. However, Autumn in My Heart was too popular and in high demand. Beijing television station was afraid that the rebroadcast rights would be snatched away by their competitors, so they sent Guruwei to play the favor card. Guruwei's status in Beijing television station was neither high nor low, so it was appropriate for him to represent Lu Qin in the negotiations. There was another person that Lu Qin knew. He was the deputy director of the variety channel, Zhu Xiaotai. For two of the top management of Beijing television station to come to Jinling together, it was really a show of sincerity. Otherwise, other small and medium-sized film production companies would not be able to find Beijing television station even if they carried a pig's head. Under normal circumstances, the latter would not take the initiative to lower their posture to negotiate with the former. As the saying goes, business cannot be done, benevolence and righteousness exist. Although the last cooperation was not successful, this time whether it was Lu Qin, Qin Fei or Qianda Pictures, they were still warmly welcomed. That evening, Zhang De, the general manager of Qianda Pictures, hosted a banquet at the Marriott Hotel to entertain the representatives of Beijing television. Lu Qin, Qin Fei, and their agents were all present. Autumn in My Heart was very popular, and the most direct beneficiary was Hygiene Satellite TV, followed by Qianda Pictures. Qianda Brothers Pictures could barely be regarded as a small fish in the Beijing film and television circle, where there were many big shots. They had invested in many TV series, but had very few results and basically did not have much say in the circle. This time, with the help of Autumn in My Heart, Qianda Pictures has made a name for itself in the industry. During this period of time, many people have come to seek cooperation or support, and they have gained a lot of limelight. However, the Qianda brothers did not let this go to their heads. They were very clear about who they had to hold on to. During the filming of Autumn in My Heart, Zhang De had been stationed in Jinling. According to his words, he was a housekeeper responsible for solving the worries of the crew. It was also because of Zhang De's coordination that the filming of Autumn in My Heart was very smooth, and it was not affected by any accidents. It was very likely that all the filming work would be completed in advance. At the wine table, Zhang De, who had a great capacity for liquor, was the undeniable attacker. He frequently raised his cup to the point where even old Jiang and Zhu Xiaotai couldn't resist, causing the atmosphere in the banquet to be very warm and harmonious. After drinking a bottle of red wine, Zhu Xiaotai smiled bitterly and said, "Director Zhang, Teacher Lu, Teacher Chen, secondly, this time I am here to atone for my mistake. Because of what happened last time, I was scolded to death by the leaders. This time, no matter what, you guys have to take care of me first, otherwise I can't go back and explain myself." Zhu Xiaotai was using the alcohol as an excuse to joke, but what he said was basically the truth. When he was negotiating the premiere rights of Autumn in My Heart, he didn't pay much attention to it. As a result, he missed this promising TV series, which was discussed a lot in the station. In fact, Zhu Xiaotai was also quite wronged. If it weren't for Hygiene Satellite TV's sudden appearance, Autumn in My Heart would have fallen into the hands of Beijing television station. Lu Qin and Qin Fei had a good relationship with Beijing television, and the Qianda brothers were in Beijing. Under the same conditions, Beijing television station was naturally full of confidence. But they never expected that Hygiene Satellite TV, a guy with little sense of existence, would actually make a fool out of them. It was fine if it was intercepted. Beijing television station had a lot of resources, but they never dreamed that Autumn in My Heart would become popular all over the country. How could they keep their face? If they lost to Central TV, Shonan TV, or even Zhidong Satellite TV, it wouldn't be a big deal. It was really unbearable to let Hygiene Satellite TV, which was a little brother, gain such a big limelight. In particular, Beijing television station had been vigorously reforming in recent years to fight for ratings. They were very tight on high-quality program content and invested a lot of money for this. Losing Autumn in My Heart was simply an unforgivable mistake. The leader above slammed the table and the board below hit Zhu Xiaotai, who asked him to be the main person in charge. Zhu Xiaotai really couldn't speak of his bitterness, because even if he took it seriously, it was impossible to come up with the same conditions as Hygiene Satellite TV, and the result would be no different. But he couldn't argue, so he could only take this opportunity to come over to discuss in person, and even pulled Guruwei with him. Guruwei said with a smile, "It's not easy for Director Zhu." Although the music director was a little straightforward and didn't know much about the ways of the world, he understood what he was here for. He naturally had to speak up for Zhu Xiaotai. And Zhu Xiaotai's half-true and half-false complaints made Lu Qin and Qin Fei look at each other. The dignified deputy director of Beijing television station's variety channel program department had said this, so they had to give him some face. Otherwise they would really offend him. Zhang De, who was experienced, said with a smile, "Director Zhu, you are too serious. There have been a lot of units that have come to negotiate recently. As long as the conditions are similar, we will definitely give it to Beijing television station first. We are all from Beijing." Zhang De was actually not a real Beijing person, but he had moved his household registration to Beijing long ago. His answer was watertight, taking care of Zhu Xiaodai's face and keeping the bottom line of his own side. It turned out that Zhang De's defense was very reasonable. The next day, January 8th, the negotiator of Zhidong TV station came to Jinling. Interestingly, it was also an acquaintance, Tian Tian. Tian Tian was originally a program host of Zhidong satellite TV. Because of the incident of being attacked by fanatical fans, she was now working behind the scenes in the satellite TV station and rarely appeared in public. Tian Tian and Qin Fei were originally friends, and Lu Qin was her savior. Zhidong TV station sent her over, playing the favor card, and the weight was not much less than that of the opponent. Because of the special relationship between the two sides, after the banquet in the evening, Qin Fei took Tian Tian to his room for a private chat and asked Lu Qin to accompany him. Tian Tian drank a lot of wine in the evening, and her face was very red and gorgeous. Probably because she was a little tipsy, she spoke boldly. She took Qin Fei's hand and asked directly, "Sister Fei, are you and Lu Qin doing that?" Lu Qin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "What do you mean by that?" Qin Fei said, "Tian Tian, I think you drank too much." Tian Tian smiled and hugged her and said, "I'm very sober. Just tell me if it's true." Qin Fei pretended to be ignorant. "What are you talking about?" Tian Tian hooked her finger and said, "Dating? Are you in a secret relationship?" Qin Fei knew that she couldn't hide it, so she nodded. "Really?" Tian Tian couldn't help but widen her eyes and straighten up with a strange expression. "That's big news." Qin Fei gave her a blank look. "We don't intend to make it public." Tian Tian rolled her eyes and said, "Then you have to pay hush money. Give the rebroadcast rights of Autumn in My Heart to our station, otherwise, hee. Qin Fei was completely defeated by her rascality. "I can't make the decision on this matter." Even if their relationship was very good, it was impossible for her to agree to something that involved multiple interests. This was a matter of principle. The most important thing was that Beijing TV station was also in discussion about the purchase. It wasn't good to be too popular. Chapter 269. "Sister Fei, I beg you." Tian Tian hugged Qin Fei's arm tightly and placed her arm between her towering breasts. The drooping neckline inadvertently exposed enough to make people have a nosebleed. Coupled with her soft and pleading voice, it was really difficult to refuse. If she had begged Lu Qin might have surrendered. Qin Fei reached out and pinched Tian Tian's straight nose. She smiled and said, "It's useless for you to beg me. Why don't you beg him?" She pointed to Lu Qin and smiled like a fox that had just stolen a hen. Her eyes were full of slyness. "As long as he agrees, this matter will basically be fine." Tian Tian said with a bitter face, "I can't beg Lu Qin. I still owe him for saving my life." "That's simple." Qin Fei smiled and said, "If you can't pay it back, you can devote yourself to him. Then all the favors can be paid off." "Devote myself to him?" Tian Tian glanced at Lu Qin softly and said with a smile, "I have no problem with that. Sister Fei, what about you? I can't steal my sister's man, can I?" The former host of Zhidong satellite TV station was also a first-class beauty. She had bright eyes and white teeth, and her skin was as white as snow. There was a hint of drunkenness on her pretty face. Under the illumination of the indoor lights, she had a different kind of charm, which made people's hearts palpitate. And the words she said were so ambiguous. Lu Qin couldn't help coughing twice. "You too pay attention to your image." Qin Fei also drank a lot in the evening. She didn't care about Lu Qin's hint. She reached out and pinched Tian Tian's chin and said, "You want to steal my sister's man with your little appearance? Well, at most, I'll let you be a concubine." Concubine? Lu Qin was speechless. It turned out that she had drunk too much and was talking nonsense. Tian Tian tilted her head and leaned on Qin Fei's shoulder. "Concubine? It's not impossible." Lu Qin finally couldn't stand it anymore and said, "Host Tian, Autumn in My Heart has many investors. At present, there are many units that want to buy the rebroadcast rights, and many of them are asking for favors. There are some inextricable relationships. Feier and I are also in a difficult position." He had to be the bad guy. When it came to serious matters, Tian Tian stopped joking and became serious. "Is it Beijing television station?" In this matter, The main opponent of Zhidong TV station that she represented was undoubtedly Beijing TV station. Other than their own strength, Beijing television station's greatest advantage was that they were a local television station in Beijing. They were a typical local tyrant, and anyone in Beijing would have to give them some face. Tian Tian was not the kind of woman with big breasts and no brains. She had carefully investigated before coming to Jinling. That was why she was able to hit the nail on the head. Lu Qin nodded. Fei and I have a good relationship with Beijing television. Tian Tian said with a bitter face. I knew it would be like this. There's really no other way this time. Tian Tian moved from the front of the stage to behind the scenes at Zhidong TV station, and her work was not very smooth. First of all, it was a professional relationship. She studied broadcasting and hosting. She was handy as a host, but she had to start learning from the beginning to work behind the scenes. Naturally, it would be very hard and tiring. Tian Tian was not afraid of hard work. The problem was that the intrigue within the TV station was very strong. There were many people who coveted her current position, and there were a lot of people who gossiped behind her back. This time, she was appointed to negotiate the purchase of the rebroadcast rights of Autumn in My Heart. It would be good if she succeeded, but if she failed, it would be hard for the people who supported her in the station to speak, and it would be inevitable that she would fall into a passive state. Speaking of this, Tian Tian's eyes turned red. She entered Zhidong TV station by her own efforts and qualifications. She did not have much background. Although there were people who appreciated her in the station, the strength of their support would not be too great. Unless she could make dazzling results or find a real big tree. And the latter was never Tian Tian's choice. Qin Fei glared at Lu Qin as if all the fault was his. Lu Qin knew that he couldn't reason with women, especially women who had drunk. He thought for a moment and said, in fact, this matter is simple to solve. You two can buy it together. There's no need to fight to the death. In addition, after a pause, Lu Qin continued, if this cooperation is successful, then the premiere rights of my next TV series will be given to both of you under the same conditions. The premiere rights could be bought out exclusively, or they could be authorized by multiple parties, and the same was true for the rebroadcast rights. It was just that big stations like Beijing Television and Zhidong Satellite TV preferred exclusive buyouts, but it was not absolute. Lu Qin's proposal was undoubtedly a good way to solve the problem. Without harming his own interests, it fully took into account the faces and feelings of the two satellite TV stations. Before the broadcast of Autumn in My Heart, his promise was not worth a penny, but now it was of great significance. Tian Tian's eyes suddenly lit up. Really? Her IQ was not low, but she was not familiar with this kind of negotiation. After being pointed out by Lu Qin, she understood, and her heart was suddenly enlightened. Qin Fei said with a smile, of course it's true. As soon as you said to devote yourself to him, of course he agreed. Who told our Tian Tian to be so charming? Sister Fei. Tian Tian couldn't help blushing, and tickled Qin Fei to cover up her embarrassment. She was now a lot sober. Thinking of the crazy words she had just said, she was really embarrassed. The two women laughed and played on the sofa, completely forgetting that Lu Qin was still sitting next to them and watching. Lu Qin really didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so he coughed a few times. He felt that he was about to get a sore throat. Tian Tian was the first to react and said embarrassedly, Lu Qin, thank you. Let's talk about this in detail tomorrow. I'll go back first. Qin Fei took her hand and wouldn't let go. You don't have to go back. Stay here with me tonight. Tian Tian's eyes widened. How can three people sleep together? Qin Fei was stunned at first and then immediately understood. Her pretty face blushed and she pinched her. You perverted girl, Tian Tian hurriedly begged for mercy. Sister Fei, I know I was wrong. I'll go first. Lu Qin really couldn't sit still anymore. He quickly got up and left. If he stayed any longer, he was worried that his heart wouldn't be able to take it. Only now did he realize that this beautiful hostess was a crazy girl by nature. When he closed the door, Lu Qin also heard Tian Tian's weak voice behind him. Sister Fei, why don't I sleep here alone and you go over? Lu Qin was completely speechless. That night, Lu Qin had a dream. In the dream, he and a beautiful woman went to Mount Wu together. When they were entangled, he tried to see the other party's face clearly. The result was that sometimes it looked like Qin Fei, and sometimes it looked like Tian Tian. When he woke up from the absurd dream the next morning, Lu Qin found himself shamelessly racing. The depression in his heart really couldn't be described in words. Although he was depressed, Lu Qin would still do what he promised others. He asked his sister Lu Shi to pull some strings. Together with Qin Fei's agent and the people of Qinda Pictures, He invited the representatives of the two TV stations to sit down and discuss. The three parties decided to sell the rebroadcast rights of Autumn in My Heart to Beijing Television and Zhejiang Satellite TV at the same time, and the specific terms of the contract would be discussed in detail. At the same time, Luchin Studio promised to sell the premiere rights of the second new drama to the two satellite TV stations first in the future. There was no need to say anything about Tian Tian. Such a result was the best for her. Although Zhu Xiaotai felt a little regretful, he also knew that his side didn't have too many chips. If he made Luchin dissatisfied, he would lose everything, and the position under his but would be unstable. The most important thing was that there were also benefits to sharing equally with Zhejiang Satellite TV, at least sharing the high cost. In another month it would be the Chinese New Year. If the TV series could be rebroadcast in the Chinese New Year, especially on Valentine's Day, the ratings would not be bad, and it would be easy to realize profits. Not to mention the promise of the next new drama. Unless Zhu Xiaotai ate a brain-dead pill, he would never push the money tree of Luchin to his opponent. So after only a few minutes of thinking, he agreed to the proposal of cooperation between the two sides. As for Chinda Pictures, they were bent on getting a share of the next new drama. How could they object to the idea put forward by Luchin and supported by Qin Fei? What they insisted on was nothing more than the price. After preliminary negotiations, the price offered by the two TV stations was as high as 1 million per episode. In this way, the total price of all 20 episodes was 20 million. This price was absolutely first class, but for a TV series like Autumn in My Heart, which was a hit in the ratings, even if the rebroadcast rights were sold, it would not be too high. Luchin Studio, Qin Fei, Studio and Chinda Pictures would naturally not be completely satisfied, and the two sides still had to wrangle. On January 9th and 10th, the 9th and 10th episodes of Autumn in My Heart continued to be broadcast on Hygiene Satellite TV. The domestic ratings were 1.47% and 1.59% respectively. The 1.50% barrier was easily broken through, and it was possible to hit the 2% phenomenal standard. At the same time, the number of views of Autumn in My Heart on QQ Video officially exceeded the 1 billion mark. Compared with all the films and TV series in 2015, it was also ranked in the top 5. And Autumn in My Heart was only half broadcast, and there were still 10 episodes to go. The ratings and number of views were bound to have new breakthroughs, and it was not impossible to create a new record. With the popularity of the TV series, more and more media reporters appeared in Jinling Film and Television City, especially at the shooting site of Autumn in My Heart. As long as it was not completely closed, those figures with long and short guns could always be seen. Related reports constantly appeared in the entertainment film and television section. Although there was free advertising, the consequence of this was that Luchin and Qin Fei had to be careful in places outside the hotel. They even had to bring their respective assistants to eat, and they couldn't even date secretly. On January 17th, when the 12th episode of Autumn in My Heart was broadcast, after 2 months of intense shooting, the shooting of this urban romance drama came to an end. Chapter 270. Jinling Studio, Azure Coast. Azure Coast was a very unique scenic spot in Jinling Studio. Its main body was a huge artificial lake with an area of tens of thousands of acres. On the south bank, a beach of more than 500 meters long was paved. Plants were planted and reefs were arranged to form a realistic coastal scenery. It was said that all the sand was collected from the seaside. After being washed, it became fine and beautiful. There were also many shell fragments mixed in the sand. When the sun shone on it, it would sparkle. It became one of the most popular attractions in Jinling Film City. In addition, Azure Coast was also one of the shooting sites of major film crews. After shooting here, as long as it was processed in post-production, it could be completely fake and save a lot of costs. The last set of scenes of Autumn in My Heart was shot at Azure Coast. It was already dusk and there was only a single wheelchair parked on the empty beach. A series of footprints started from the wheelchair and extended into the distance. Luchin carried Qin Fei on his back and walked forward step by step. Every step was so difficult. Qin Fei, who was wearing a hospital gown, closed her eyes and leaned her face on Luchin's shoulder. Her black hair was messy and her face was as pale as paper. She was no longer breathing. Luchin didn't seem to notice. He faced the setting sun. His handsome and resolute face was filled with sorrow that couldn't be dispersed. His dark eyes contained a pain that went deep into the bone. That kind of helplessness, heart and soul, slowly slid down with tears and dripped on the beach. And she, do you know? I love you. I love you. I love you very, very much. It was a lost murmur. It was a confession to the most beloved person behind her. Unfortunately, she would never hear it again. This kind of sorrow could not be described in words. The pain was deep and unforgettable. She would never be able to let it go. The staff of the crew were infected by the atmosphere of the scene. They did their work in silence and did not show the excitement and joy of the upcoming completion. Director Fang Hui stared at the monitor and was silent for a long time. It was not her first time filming a TV series. She had seen all kinds of actors, but she had never seen a newcomer more outstanding than Lu Qin. The latter seemed to be born to be an actor, self-taught and natural. From the first episode, Lu Qin's performance was so stable that it made people's hair stand on end. His interpretation of the character's personality could be said to be perfect, and his grasp of the character's emotions was impeccable. He was not inferior to any veteran actor. Fang Hui had never been able to figure out how an artist like Lu Qin, who had never learned to act or acted before, could do this. Could it really be the legendary talent? It was said that some people were born to act. They could get into character within a few seconds. They could cry if they wanted to, laugh if they wanted to, and memorize the lines after watching it a few times. The number of NGs was very few. Fang Hui had never worked with such a strong actor, but she believed that Lu Qin was such an actor. As a director, she felt really comfortable. When she decided to take on Autumn in My Heart, Fang Hui was mainly moved by the story of the script. She did not expect to rely on this sadomasochistic TV series to improve her reputation. If she did not lose money, she would be worthy of the remuneration she received. But Fang Hui never dreamed that Autumn in My Heart would become popular, a big hit. In just 1 month, she became a hot new TV series director in the film and television industry. Dozens of units invited her to direct the show through her agent or directly called her. Fang Hui's family did not agree, because she knew very well that the reason why Autumn in My Heart could be so successful was not because of her as a director. Without a good script and actors, she could not cook without rice. And under normal circumstances, a good script and good actors would not be in her hands. It was Lu Qin who gave her a chance to stand out. Therefore, Fang Hui wanted to continue to cooperate with Lu Qin. She knew that Lu Qin was going to shoot a new TV series next year. Fang Hui hoped that she would still be the director of the new TV series. At that time, the situation would be completely different. Not to mention other things, there would be a lot of people who wanted to invest in it. With sufficient funds, the shooting and production would undoubtedly be more sophisticated. In fact, she still had a lot of regrets about this Autumn in My Heart. She felt that many places were not perfect. Director, the call in her ear made Fang Hui wake up as if from a dream. The picture displayed on the monitor made her realize that she was actually distracted at this time. Lu Qin had almost reached the end of the beach with Chen Feier on his back. But it did not matter. Fang Hui said loudly, "Approved." She stood up with a happy smile on her face. I announced that Autumn in My Heart is officially finished. It was finished. The crew members on the scene all cheered, and some even hugged each other. It was over, they could finally completely relax. On the beach not far away, Lu Qin first put Chen Feier down, then gave a thumbs up to the cameraman who had been following him and the assistant who was carrying the light pad. Well done, I'll treat everyone to dinner tonight. The cameraman and the assistants all laughed, and one of the assistants said, "Thank you, Brother Lu." During the 2 months of shooting, the atmosphere in the crew of Autumn in My Heart had always been very good. There was no melodramatic fight. Everyone worked together towards the same goal to ensure the smooth completion of the shooting. Apart from the other actors, Chen Feier was the diva of the music industry, and Lu Qin was a musical genius. He was also the creator, the male lead and the investor of this TV series. His status in the crew was higher than that of the director. But whether it was Lu Qin or Chen Feier, the two had always treated the crew members very well. They never put on any airs of stars and treated people politely. Everyone had a balance in their hearts and they could tell whether it was good or bad. For the male and female leads in front of them, everyone had a good impression of them and respected them very much. The cameraman and the crew members finished moving the equipment, but Lu Qin and Chen Feier did not rush back. They walked side by side on the beach, following the deep footprints left before. Autumn in My Heart was finished, and the two were also very emotional. Originally, Chen Feier's assistant had run over, but seeing this scene, they tacitly retreated. As they walked, Chen Feier brushed the messy hair on her face and suddenly asked, "Do I look very ugly now?" She had a pale and sickly makeup on her face, and her lips were pale, making her look very haggard. Lu Qin laughed and said, "You look good no matter what you look like. You only know how to make me happy." Fei rolled her eyes at him, but the corners of her lips were slightly raised, revealing the sweetness in her heart. However, as soon as the smile appeared, there was a trace of fear in her eyes. She bit her lips and said, "Just now, when I heard your lines just now, I felt as if I was really going to leave you forever." Lu Qin felt the change in Feier's heart, and understood that she had not completely gotten rid of the state of the character. He couldn't help but reach out and hold her hand. "As long as you are willing, I will always be by your side." Lu Qin was not the kind of playboy who was good at using sweet words to coax women, but his words of love instantly hit Feier's heart, making her uneasiness and confusion disappear. If there were not so many people nearby, she would immediately throw herself into Lu Qin's arms and give him a passionate kiss. A sweet and warm atmosphere passed between the two. Fei asked, "What's your plan after shooting this film?" Lu Qin thought for a moment and said, "It's almost the new year. I'll take a good rest for a few days." Fei said, "In your dreams. There are the most jobs before the new year. You can't not attend any of them, can you?" Lu Qin was speechless. As a star artist, he really had no choice. Even if he opened his own studio and was the master of the company, he couldn't be willful and reckless, unless he didn't want to have a future. For example, Lu Qin basically didn't accept messy announcements, but he had 2 endorsements, and he had the obligation to cooperate with the investors to do publicity. Besides, if a big media like Beijing Television invited him to be on the program, he had to give face. Fei said, "After the new year, I'm going to release a new album. You have to spare time to help me." Her new album was supposed to be released before the new year, but because of the shooting of Autumn in My Heart, it had to be delayed, which made many fans very dissatisfied. For this TV series, Fei sacrificed a lot. She originally had a plan to hold a single concert in the capital, but it had to be arranged next year. As for other jobs that were delayed, there were even more. Of course, Fei didn't care about the loss of profits. Autumn in My Heart was enough for her to make money, but she had to appease the fans. She couldn't continue to delay. Lu Qin said with a smile, "What's in it for me?" Fei sensed that he was up to no good. She became vigilant and asked, "What do you want?" Lu Qin smiled and scratched her palm with his fingers. He said softly, "Stay with me tonight." Last time when he was drunk, Fei slept with him in the same bed. It was a pity that she didn't enjoy the real taste of tenderness. Now thinking of it, she couldn't help but be tempted. A faint blush suddenly appeared on Feier's pretty face. Even the makeup couldn't cover it. She broke free from Lu Qin's hand and rolled her eyes at Lu Qin. "Do you men only think about this?" Lu Qin felt wronged. "I mean, accompany me to a movie tonight. What are you thinking about?" Fei realized that she had been fooled. She couldn't help but be angry and pinched Lu Qin fiercely. She pinched the soft flesh on his waist accurately. Faced with this kind of woman's talent, Lu Qin could only raise his hands to surrender and express his deep remorse. The two of them frolicked around, leaving a trail of footprints on the white sand. The sun was setting and the clouds in the sky seemed to be on fire. It was extraordinarily magnificent and magnificent. Everything was so beautiful. Chapter 271. Ding ding ding, the delicate silver spoon tapped against the glass, producing a clear and melodious sound. The originally noisy banquet hall quickly quieted down. Zhang Deji stood up with satisfaction. He put down the small spoon, raised the glass in his hand high, and said in high spirits, "Here, please allow me to say a few words. Thank you for your hard work over the past 2 months, which has made the shooting of our TV series a complete success. On behalf of Chienda Brothers Pictures, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to all my colleagues here." Cheers. Everyone raised their glasses in response to the boss. Looking around, the banquet hall was full of smiling faces. Today, Autumn in My Heart was officially finished. Chienda Brothers Pictures booked the entire Jinlan Hall of the Marriott Hotel and invited all the crew members and the actors who didn't leave to express their condolences and gratitude. At the beginning of the banquet, Zhang De asked his secretary to carry the bag and gave a red envelope to everyone who attended the banquet. Even Lu Qin and Fei had one. For the two of them, this little money was nothing at all. It was nothing more than a festive and auspicious event. But for those bitter crew members, it was undoubtedly a big benefit. Zhang De was also very happy to give money. After a few days of negotiations, the rebroadcast rights of Autumn in My Heart have been officially sold to Beijing Television and Zhidong Satellite TV. The price of the copyright deal was as high as 23 million, which was shared equally by the two TV stations. As the ratings of Autumn in My Heart continued to climb, The TV series could fully recover all the costs and make profits in advance by relying on the VM contract with Hygiene Satellite TV. Therefore, this money was a net profit, and it was expected that the three investors could earn tens of millions of profits in the end. Zhang De's mood could be imagined. The two brothers set up a film and television production company in Beijing and worked hard in this circle. They made some profits and some losses, and they were basically even. They had never made so much money on a project. Most importantly, the benefits brought about by the success of Autumn in My Heart were not just that. Zhang De was originally a bit of a gangster, so he was naturally very relaxed at night. After downing this glass of wine, he poured another glass and toasted Lu Chen. Teacher Lu, I, old Zhang, am a crude man and don't know much about art. I only know that you're a great talent. Without you, there wouldn't be this TV series. Here's to you. Lu Chen smiled and said, Director Zhang, you're too polite. Thank you. He followed Zhang De. Zhang De's face reddened, and his eyes became brighter and brighter. He poured another cup of wine and toasted Qin Fei. Qin Fei gave him face and drank a small glass of red wine. Zhang De felt very proud. Then he asked Fang Hui for a toast. Fang Hui was forthright. She drank a full glass of red wine, which drew cheers from her table. The atmosphere of the banquet became more and more lively. Zhang De's table was cleared before he sat down and winked at his subordinates. Immediately, someone stood up to greet Lu Chen, calling him Brother Lu, and Brother Lu, in a particularly affectionate manner. Lu Chen had no choice but to drink several glasses in a row. Sitting next to him, Qin Fei felt sorry for him, but he was too embarrassed to stop him. It was Fang Hui who understood. She smiled and said, Don't get Lu Chen drunk. Someone will feel sorry for him. Everyone laughed at once. Basically, everyone in the crew knew about the affair between Qin Fei and Lu Chen. But even though they knew, no one would talk about it. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to survive in this circle. No crew would want people who liked to gossip, especially those who secretly sold information to the paparazzi. The only one who had the right to ridicule them was Fang Hui, the director. Of course, with Qin Fei's protection, no one dared to get Lu Chen drunk again, so he finally escaped. Even so, by the end of the banquet, Lu Chen had drunk almost 2 bottles of red wine. When he returned to his room, it was already past 10 p.m. He was not drunk, but when he came out of the shower, he saw Qin Fei sitting on the sofa in the living room. She really came to accompany him. Lu Chen couldn't help but feel his heart heat up. He hurriedly ran over and skillfully held the beauty in his arms. Qin Fei let him hold her and said, Don't think too much. I'll go back later. Lu Chen's face suddenly fell. No way. Qin Fei held back her laughter, reached out and touched his face. She said softly with a trace of shyness, I know what you want, but I'm not ready yet. Can you give me a little more time? Although she was very mature, she was very conservative in her bones. Even if her heart was soft, she didn't want to be sloppy. Lu Chen nodded. If two people loved each other for a long time, they wouldn't be together all the time. He was not an animal who only thought with the lower half of his body. Of course, he would respect Qin Fei's thoughts. Even if he had the impulse, he could control himself very well. She was his. Sooner or later she would be his. Qin Fei felt it. She was happy. She reached out and put her arms around Lu Chen's neck and took the initiative to give him a kiss. The kiss lasted for several minutes and both of them were flushed. While she was still rational, Qin Fei broke away from Lu Chen's arms and said, I have to go back. I'll go back to the capital tomorrow morning. There are a lot of things to do in the studio. There are a lot of backlog of work. Lu Chen was very regretful, but he also understood. I'll go back in a few days. I'll contact you when I arrive. Although Autumn in My Heart was finished, there was still post-production editing and soundtrack dubbing. Therefore he would continue to stay in Jinling for a while. He would not return to the capital until everything was finished. Qin Fei leaned into his arms again and said, These 2 months have been the happiest for me. Celebrities really didn't have much time to fall in love. If they were both in the entertainment industry, they usually didn't have many opportunities to meet each other. Even if they got married, it was difficult for them to stay together for a long time. The two of them were filming the same TV series in Jinling. They were together day and night and their feelings really deepened. Unfortunately, such days were always short. In the blink of an eye, they would be separated again. Qin Fei really couldn't bear to leave. Wasn't Lu Chen the same? The two continued to be intimate for a while, and Lu Chen reluctantly sent Qin Fei back to her room. However, a few minutes later, just as he was about to go to bed early, someone knocked on the door of the room. Lu Chen thought that Qin Fei had changed her mind. He opened the door in surprise, only to find that it was Zhang De and his secretary. Zhang De stood at the door and asked with a smile, "Teacher Lu, I have something to talk to you about. Is it convenient now?" Lu Qin smiled and said, "Please come in." He invited Zhang De to sit down in the living room, and the latter's secretary went to make tea for the two of them. Zhang De said, "Teacher Lu, here's the thing. I have a friend who has invested in a movie, and it happens to be filmed here. He wants to invite you to make a guest role. Do you have time?" Guest role in a movie? Lu Qin was stunned. He originally thought that Zhang Dexian came to visit him to talk about continuing cooperation in the future, such as the next TV series. After filming Autumn in My Heart, it was no secret that Lu Qin was going to start a new TV series next year. Even if he didn't know, he could guess. The ratings of Autumn in My Heart broke the record, and his flag in the film and television industry was raised. Entertainment agencies and advertisers seeking investment and cooperation were bound to flock to him. Not to mention other things, just the product placement in the TV series could make a lot of money. Autumn in My Heart was not very optimistic before it was broadcasted. After the ratings soared and the filming was almost done, there was no product placement. The new TV series was completely different. Everyone in the world came for benefits. In this way, Chinda Pictures, which originally didn't have much fame in the industry, and its strength and background were ordinary, would inevitably face huge competitive pressure from its peers. Chinda Pictures, who had tasted the sweetness, of course wanted to continue to cooperate with Lu Qin. However, the friendship between the two parties wasn't deep enough for Lu Qin to recognize Chinda Pictures. Lu Qin quickly realized that this was Zhang De taking the initiative to express goodwill to him, and he was painstakingly looking for an opportunity. In the entertainment industry, the grade of a movie was always higher than that of a TV series. If one hadn't made a movie, he would be embarrassed to say that he was a real actor. The real big stars were the best actor and best actress. Going to the big screen was also one of Lu Qin's plans. He couldn't help but be a little interested and asked, "What movie is it?" Zhang De explained, "It's a historical costume film called Emperor Wu of the Han Dynasty. Currently, more than half of the filming has been completed. There's a supporting actor in it that needs to be replaced. It just so happens that my friend knows you, so he wants you to make a guest appearance. There aren't many scenes." He smiled and said, "My friend admires you very much and thinks you are very suitable for the role, so he recommended you to the director." Lu Qin smiled and said, "In that case, I'll give it a try." This time he was shooting Autumn in My Heart with Chinda Pictures. The cooperation between the two parties was very pleasant. The latter was very upright and fully cooperated with the two protagonists and the director. As the general manager, Zhang De had been involved in the filming in Jinling, taking care of all aspects. He had contributed to the completion of Autumn in My Heart ahead of schedule. Therefore, when shooting the new TV series next year, Lu Qin would still give priority to Chinda Pictures, or at least let the latter participate in it. As for how many shares it would take, that was another matter. Now that Zhang De was eagerly coming to his door, Lu Qin of course had to give him face. Moreover, the temptation of making a movie was not small. Even if it was just a guest appearance. Zhang De was pleasantly surprised. "That's great. I'll contact my friend when I go back and arrange an audition for you as soon as possible." Although it was a small role, according to the rules he had to pass the audition first, unless Lu Qin was a big star in the circle. At present he was still a newcomer who had just debuted, so he had to abide by the rules. Lu Qin knew the rules. "Okay then, thank you, Director Zhang." Zhang De smiled and said, "I should be the one thanking you. It's also his luck to be able to invite you to make a guest appearance in this movie." His words were not all compliments. It was really rare to see an artist like Lu Qin who rose up so quickly. Chapter 272. The morning after Autumn in My Heart was finished, Qin Fei left Jinling and returned to Beijing. She left quietly with her assistant and didn't say goodbye to Lu Qin. It was normal for couples to meet and part in the entertainment industry. Even if they hadn't been in love for long, they were used to being apart and being busy, not knowing when they would meet again. Lu Qin woke up early to exercise as usual. After breakfast, he met up with Zhang De and drove to the filming location of the great Emperor of Han Dynasty, Qinyan Pass. The Jinling Film City was one of the 3 major film cities in the country. It covered a large area, and after more than 10 years of construction, it had large-scale buildings such as Xiangjiang Road, Minghua Street, Mingqing Palace, along the river during the Qingming Festival, Buddhist temples and Taoist temples, as well as natural landscapes such as the Azure Coast, the Gobi Desert and the Celestial Mountains. Big investments in these artificial scenes allowed film and television crews from all over the country to find a suitable location, thus saving a lot of money. 20 or 30 years ago, this would have been unimaginable. At that time, the Central Television needed several years to film a large-scale TV series. They had to travel all over the country and spend a lot of manpower and resources. Big movies were shot much faster now. For example, the 20 episodes of The Great Emperor of Han Dynasty were all shot in the Jinling Film City. The crew didn't have to travel all over the country, so they could finish filming in just 2 months. However, compared to before, the actors' salaries were many times higher, and the post-production was even more expensive. Big productions could easily cost hundreds of millions, especially the actors' salaries. Nowadays, A-list stars could get at least a few $100,000 per episode, and a series could cost a few million. The movie's salary was also amazing. Lu Qin guest starred in The Great Emperor of Han, and the other party offered him 200,000 yuan. Near an ancient city, Lu Qin met the director of The Great Emperor of Han Dynasty, Lu Zhiyong. Lu Zhiyong was in his 30s and was the so-called 7th-generation director in the country. He was quite famous in the film industry and was good at shooting historical films. The Great Emperor of Han Dynasty was the 6th movie he directed, and it was also the one with the largest investment. The movie had invited many A-list actors and actresses from the country, and it could be considered a star-studded cast. Lu Chen's character was called Qin Jia, and he was a deputy general under the command of General Hua Tsubing. Lu Chen had read the script on the way here. There were only a few scenes and 2 lines. The 200,000 yuan was actually very easy to earn. If it weren't for the recent popularity of Autumn in My Heart, which gave him the qualification to hang his name on the poster, such a good thing wouldn't have fallen into his hands. Of course, if he wanted to make money by showing his face in the movie, Lu Chen had to get Lu Zhiyong's approval first. The director was tall and thin. He wore black-rimmed glasses and had a scholarly air about him. However, his personality was quite tough and stubborn. Zhang De knew Lu Zhiyong, so he greeted him submissively. "Hello, Director Lu." Lu Zhiyong nodded and his eyes fell on Lu Chen. "Is this the actor you recommended?" Zhang De smiled and said, "Yes, his name is Lu Chen. He just finished filming a TV series." Lu Chen said politely, "Hello, Director Lu. It's an honor to meet you." There were rules in every circle, and the entertainment and film circles were no exception. He was a newcomer who had just debuted. Even if he was already very popular, he still had to be polite to his seniors. Otherwise, it would be easy to be ostracized. An arrogant person, no matter how strong his background was, would sooner or later get beaten up. Lu Zhiyong didn't have much of a good attitude towards Lu Chen. He asked bluntly, "Do you know how to ride a horse?" Lu Chen replied calmly, "Yes." He had ridden a horse when he traveled to the prairie with his parents. Moreover, Mo Ran in the dream world had specialized in horsemanship, so he definitely had no problem riding a horse that had been trained by the crew. Lu Zhiyong was dubious. He turned to a young man next to him and said, "Xiao Wang, go get a horse and let him try." "Okay, director." The young man agreed without hesitation and quickly led a large horse over. Lu Zhiyong frowned at the sight of the black steed. Xiao Wang, who was supposed to be the assistant, handed the reins to Lu Chen and said, "Can you do it? If you can't, don't try to be brave. If you fall and break your bones, our crew won't be responsible." When he spoke, there was a smile on his face and there was a hint of malice in it. Lu Chen's heart was as clear as snow. When he saw the horse, he knew that the other party was playing a trick. He must want to see him make a fool of himself. There were special horse farms in the film and television city, where horses were rented out for the crew to use for filming. The choice of horse varied from person to person. Some actors didn't know how to ride a horse or were timid, so the horses chosen for them were the most docile and weak ones. They just needed to sit on it and put on a pose. However, some of the more demanding ones needed to be shot well, so the horses chosen were not ordinary. People who didn't know anything about horsemanship wouldn't be able to control them and would be lucky to fall with a black nose and a swollen face. The horse that this guy brought over was a good horse, not for a rookie to ride. The other party undoubtedly wanted to see him make a fool of himself. Inexperienced actors would most likely be timid when they saw such a big horse. Lu Chen glanced at the other party calmly and took the reins without hesitation. Did he want to see him make a fool of himself? That would be a real joke. At this time Lu Zhiyong said, "Get another one." Of course, he could see that Xiao Wang was deliberately making things difficult for Lu Chen. The reason was actually very simple. Xiao Wang was a little unhappy with Lu Chen, and his previous complaints were heard by the assistant. And Lu Zhiyong was disgusted with Lu Chen because the investors intervened in the casting and forced Lu Chen to come over. Even if it was just a small role, it made the director feel that his authority had been damaged. Originally, he could tolerate it, but recently the shooting of the film hadn't been very smooth, and he had a little conflict with the investors. In fact, Lu Qin had been shot even though he was not doing anything. But being unhappy was one thing. Lu Zhiyong was not a young man in his 20s, and he would not act recklessly. If Lu Qin really relied on his strength to show off and something happened to this horse, it was impossible for the crew not to have any responsibility. Therefore, Lu Zhiyong thought about it and asked someone to get another one. "Director Lu, this one is very suitable." However, to everyone's surprise, after Lu Qin took the reins, he immediately stepped on the stirrup and flipped over the horse, sitting firmly on the saddle. His movements were extremely skillful. "Go!" he shouted, squeezed the horse's abdomen with his legs and jerked the reins. Neighing, the steed under his crotch immediately let out a loud neigh. Under Lu Chen's control, it turned its head, spread its four hooves and ran towards the grassland outside the city like a whirlwind. In the blink of an eye, it had rushed tens of meters away. Everyone on the set, including Lu Zhiyong and Xiao Wang, was dumbfounded. This kind of starting speed could only be done by a real veteran. Was Lu Qin looking for death? Many people, including the trainers on the set, hurriedly chased after him. Falling from the back of a galloping horse was life-threatening. In the past, there had been jockeys and extras who had broken their necks and died on the spot. As for broken bones or being trampled by horses, it was even more common. Lu Chen's movements looked cool, but in fact the risk factor was very high. However, these people could only eat the dust. When he first got on the horse, Lu Chen's body was still a little stiff, which was due to his instinctive excitement. But when the horse began to sprint, a strong wind blew in his face, and a familiar feeling enveloped his whole body. The little bit of fear in his heart suddenly disappeared. Outside Qinyan Pass was a vast grassland, and there were dozens of yurts scattered not far away. This was not only the filming site of the crew, but also the tourist attraction of Jinling Film City. There were also several tourist buses parked nearby. Due to the filming needs, the grassland had been cleared, so Lu Qin didn't need to worry about anything. He drove the horse forward for a few miles and rushed to the grassy slope before turning back. On the way back, Lu Qin took a detour and happened to pass by the few tourist buses. Many tourists were watching and filming there. When they saw him riding over, they shouted loudly as if they had discovered a new continent. Lu Qin smiled and waved at them, and the horse galloped all the way back to the city gate. Lu Zhiyong and Zhang De both ran out of Guan City. Lu Qin pulled the reins and slowed down, stopping in front of them unhurriedly. He turned over and landed steadily on the ground. He pulled the reins and led the horse over. "Director Lu, I'm really sorry," Lu Qin said apologetically. "I haven't ridden a horse for a long time, so my skills are limited. I didn't manage to control it just now. I'm sorry for making you worry." Lu Zhiyong and the others were speechless. If this was considered limited, then what was considered good? Anyone could easily see that Lu Qin not only knew how to ride a horse, but his horsemanship was also quite exquisite. At least he had no problem with the role he was interviewing for. After the shock, Lu Zhiyong didn't get angry. Instead, his eyes were shining with excitement. He praised, "This is very good. Can you play tricks on the horse?" The so-called tricks were moves in the jargon. If there was a routine, it had to be done beautifully. Playing tricks on the back of a horse required some real skills. Those who hadn't practiced before wouldn't know how to do it. At this time, a stunt double was needed to solve the problem by using dislocation shooting and post-processing. Of course, it was best if the actor didn't need a stunt double. The problem was that not many star artists were willing to work hard to practice this. It was hard and dangerous. But Lu Zhiyong's intuition told him that Lu Chen's ability was probably not limited to riding a horse. There might be an unexpected surprise. Lu Chen smiled and said, "I think I can give it a try." He could really do it? The film crew members looked at each other in disbelief. Lu Zhiyong smiled and ordered, "Little Wang, get someone to bring the props and costumes over for him to change into." Chapter 273. Under Director Lu's command, the props team immediately sent the costumes and props over. Lu Qin was wearing a set of silver-black armor. The style was typical for commercial films. It was exquisite and cool, but it didn't follow historical facts. It only sought effects and was unreasonable. The people in the props team were very attentive, and the matching armor was quite in line with Lu Chen's height and size. With their help, Lu Qin put on the armor, and a majestic silver-armored soldier suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Lu Zhiyong was very satisfied. Not bad. Lu Qin was more than 180 meters tall. His body was very stylish after training for a long time. Wearing the armor, he showed a sharp and capable temperament. Just his appearance alone was impeccable. The prop team gave him another Courage of the Dragon spear. This spear was very exquisitely made. Its entire body was cast and polished with alloy materials. Although it was not very heavy, it was still very heavy in the hand and had a very good texture. A set of armor, a spear, and a sword. The total weight was more than 40 kilograms. People without a strong physique wouldn't be able to handle it. But for Lu Qin, this kind of weight was completely within the range of endurance. After dressing up, Lu Qin got on the horse again. Just as he sat down, he held the spear with one hand and stabbed forward. With a twist of his wrist, a beautiful spear flower appeared. Nice. Among the crew members, there was a martial arts instructor in charge of directing the movements. When they saw Lu Qin's move, they couldn't help but praise him with their eyes wide open. As the saying goes, an expert can tell with one's hand. Whether someone was capable or not, one only needed to use a few tricks to know. Lu Qin's skill of shaking the spear with ease was incomparably proficient. If it was said that he didn't practice for a long time, the martial arts instructor would definitely not believe it. He had never seen any star artist who could play better than Lu Qin before. And in the eyes of outsiders, Lu Qin's movements were very elegant. Coupled with his handsome appearance, he was extremely handsome. This time everyone was convinced. Lu Xiong felt like he had picked up a treasure. A smile appeared on his serious face. However, Lu Qin's performance had only just begun. He held the spear in his right hand and held the reins in his left as he rode his mount into the grassland once more. He was like a real general launching an attack on the enemy. After running one lap, Lu Qin demonstrated a few simple moves on horseback. Everyone was convinced. "All right, come back." Lu Xiong said loudly, "This role is yours." He was so satisfied that he even found Zhang De more pleasing to the eye. "Mr. Zhang, this Lu Qin is a signed artist of your company? You're really lucky." Lu Xiong didn't listen to pop songs or read entertainment gossip. He had been filming outside for the past 6 months, so he didn't know Lu Qin's real identity. He thought that Lu Qin was a new artist under Qianda. Otherwise, why would this general manager recommend him? Zhang De smiled bitterly and said, "Director Lu, if only I had such luck." Lu Xiong was surprised. "He's not one of your people?" Zhang De explained, "Lu Qin has his own studio. He debuted half a year ago. He was originally a singer." Singer? Lu Xiong was speechless. Are all young singers so good now? And he even has his own studio. He couldn't help but exclaim, "That's really amazing." Lu Xiong knew that Lu Qin had just finished filming a TV series and was playing the male lead. He didn't expect him to be proficient in both literature and martial arts. Among the older generation of actors, there were many people who were proficient in literature and martial arts and had unique skills. But now, most of these old actors had retired or withered. Most of them had retired from the film and television industry. The new generation of actors paid attention to different things. Appearance, temperament, acting skills, and even without acting skills. Lu Xiong didn't despise those young actors who relied on their appearance to make a living, because he was taking the market-oriented business route. He would never go against what the audience liked. The most important thing was the box office. But this didn't affect Lu Xiong's good impression of Lu Qin. He decided on the latter to play the role of Qin Jia on the spot. Not only that, he hoped to shoot Lu Qin's scenes the next day. The progress of the film had been delayed a lot because of various reasons. There wasn't much time to waste. Lu Qin had no objection to this. It was just a matter of contacting his sister to sign a contract with the other party. Even if it was a cameo, he had to sign a contract to protect his rights and interests. The two sides hit it off. In the afternoon, Lu Shi came to sign the contract. The next day, Lu Qin came to the Guan City film set again. Today's situation was very different from yesterday's interview. There were hundreds of extras on the set, armed with spears and armor, just like a small-scale army. Although it couldn't be said that they were well-trained, they still had a bit of an imposing manner. The scenes that Lu Qin participated in were only a small part of The Great Emperor of Han Dynasty. This period drama was mainly about the story of Emperor Wu of Han, and the focus of the plot was the power struggle inside and outside the palace, which involved many famous historical figures. Therefore, in the film set in Guan City, Hua Tsubing was the central character. The plot of the script was about the great general of White Cavalry leaving Longxi for the Battle of Heshi. It was a grand scene, but in reality, it only lasted about 10 minutes in the movie. Attention all departments. Camera okay. Props okay. Recording okay. After everything was ready, the script supervisor hit the clappers. Action. The next moment, the war drums sounded, one after another, thrilling to the heart. They saw Lu Qin riding his warhorse and suddenly rushing forward from the army formation. 2 cameras placed on the tracks followed and filmed from different directions, completely recording his every move. Lu Qin, who had dark skin after makeup, pursed his lips, and his face was as calm as water. His eyes looked straight ahead, and his eyes revealed a fierce killing intent. He suddenly raised the bright silver spear in his hand. The tip of the spear was pointed at the Xiongnu army on the plains, charging forward alone. Lu Zhiyong, who was sitting in front of the monitor, couldn't help but slap his thigh and praise, "Good." Lu Zhiyong was very satisfied with Lu Chen's performance during the interview yesterday. Today, when filming officially started, Lu Chen gave him another big surprise. Lu Chen's role was a fictional character. As a small supporting character with only 2 lines, his main role was to charge into the enemy's ranks alone. He needed to show the character's bravery and pride as a general of the Great Han Dynasty. The original actor who played this character was injured during an announcement, so he couldn't come to Jinling for filming. He had to find someone else to replace him. He didn't expect the replacement to be so outstanding. Lu Zhiyong even felt that Lu Chen was a little too famous. He was completely qualified to play Hua Tsubing, and the real Hua Tsubing was watching from afar. This actor was called Wen Bing. He was about the same age as Lu Chen, and he had debuted much earlier than Lu Chen. He had acted in a few movies and TV series, but they were all supporting roles. The role of Hua Tsubing in The Great Han Emperor was the most important role Wen Bing had ever played. As an idol, Wen Bing was very confident in his acting skills. But now that he saw Lu Chen's performance, he suddenly wasn't so confident anymore. Who is this? Wen Bing knew that the role of Qin Jia was going to be replaced. He had even thought of recommending one of his friends to play the role, but the latter didn't have any free time. He didn't expect someone else to replace him today. A replacement is a replacement. Wen Bing didn't take a small role to heart. However, Lu Chen's appearance was really dazzling, which made him, the protagonist, instinctively feel threatened. His assistant knew more. Lu Chen, the male lead of Autumn in My Heart. Wen Bing came to a realization. Oh, it's him. Autumn in My Heart was really popular now. Wen Bing knew that even if he hadn't watched it, but he didn't expect the male lead to make a guest appearance in The Great Han Emperor. He had an indescribable feeling in his heart. For the role of Hua Tsubing, he had paid a high price and defeated many powerful opponents. He thought that he was standing at a considerable height, but he was instantly dwarfed by Hua Tsubing. The only consolation he could feel was that his role was much more important than Lu Chen's. That's all there is to it, Wen Bing was secretly disdainful. Even so, he had to admit that Lu Chen's imposing manner was not something he could act out. At that moment, Lu Chen didn't know that his performance had caused the jealousy of someone in the industry. He was waving his spear and fighting with the Xiongnu general, successfully completing the predetermined movements. The morning passed quickly, and by noon, Lu Chen had finished all his scenes. During this period there were only 2 NGs because of him. Before leaving, director Lu Zhiyong personally gave a business card to Lu Chen, hoping that they would have a chance to work together in the future. He wasn't completely being polite. Because Lu Chen was qualified to work with him and was worthy of his attention. For Lu Chen, this guest appearance was a small interlude in his personal acting career. Although there weren't many scenes, it was enough to satisfy his craving for a movie. In addition, he earned 200,000 yuan, so there was nothing to be dissatisfied about. In the next few days, Lu Chen was in the film and television production company in Jinling, supervising the post-production of Autumn in My Heart. At the same time, he settled his dubbing and soundtrack work. On the 21st, Lu Chen Studio received an invitation from Shacheng. The invitation was sent to Lu Chen by Shonan TV, who invited him to attend the Chinese Music Chart Awards Gala that would be held in Shacheng on the night of February 2nd. This was because Lu Chen had been nominated for Best Newcomer and Best Composer in the Chinese Music Chart Awards Gala. When Lu Chen received the news from the studio, he thought there was a mistake. The organizer of the Chinese Music Chart Awards was Shonan TV. Chapter 274. Shonan TV invited Lu Chen to participate in the Chinese Music Chart, organized by it. When he first learned of the news, Lu Chen thought that his studio had made a mistake, or that someone was joking with him, but both may have been quickly ruled out. After confirming the news, Lu Chen instantly came up with a proverb in his mind. The weasel pays a New Year's greeting to the chicken. His debut time is very short, but his entanglement with Shonan TV is not shallow. The faraway one is the talent show Storm, and the recent one is the ratings war between Autumn in My Heart Soaring and My Heart Soaring. Earlier, Shonan TV was forced to apologize to Lu Chen because of the leak of the talent show video. Super Singer lost to Lu Chen's Singing China, which was the first slap in the face. Now Autumn in My Heart Soaring is beating My Heart Soaring to the ground. The former's ratings are about to break through the 2% mark, while the latter has been hovering around 0.5% and even has a downward trend. Shonan TV's so-called annual drama has almost become a joke, and the investment of My Heart Soaring is almost 10 times that of Autumn in My Heart Soaring. How can it not be disgraced? Autumn in My Heart Soaring was written, starred and invested by Lu Chen, which was another slap in the face. This time it was much heavier than the previous time, involving huge interest. Under such circumstances, Shonan TV even invited him to participate in the Chinese music chart, and gave him 2 important nominations for Best Newcomer and Best Composer, which is a strange taste. Is Shonan TV's breadth of mind really so broad? Lu Chen scoffed at this. It should be known that Shonan TV's reputation in the circle has never been very good. And under normal circumstances, this invitation letter should be delivered a month in advance. It's only 10 days apart. Does he have no other work arrangements? In the domestic pop music industry there were many annual awards, and the most influential ones were the 3. The first is the China Original Music Chart, jointly created by the Chinese Musicians Association, QQ Music, NetEase Music, Pop Radio and dozens of other media, which is the well-known Original Music Chart. The celebration of the China Original Music Chart will be held in mid-March every year, and this year will be the 14th session. The second was the Asian Chinese Top Songs Chart, which was created by CCTV and CCTV in collaboration with major TV stations and radio stations in the country. The award ceremony was fixed to be held on the evening of February 18th. It had been held for 15 times so far. These 2 major music award ceremonies had the longest history and were the most authoritative. They were the most anticipated grand ceremonies for the music industry. Ranked third was the Chinese Music Chart, which was founded in 2006 by Shonan TV, Hong Kong Satellite TV, and more than a dozen large record companies and entertainment companies. In terms of authority, the Chinese Music Chart was definitely not as good as the first 2, but Shonan TV was very good at creating hype and was rich. Every year, the Chinese Music Chart award ceremony was very popular and invited a lot of stars and artists to participate, so it was very famous. In addition, there were also several other award ceremonies such as the Pop Music Chart, the Pepsi Original Music Chart, etc., but their influence was not very big and the scale was small. Even if they were not authoritative and had higher entertainment value, for most of the people in the pop music industry, it was undoubtedly a very prestigious and boastful thing to get the invitation letter of the Chinese Music Chart. However, Lu Chen was not one of them. He felt strange, so he called Qin Fei. Qin Fei has been in the music industry for more than 10 years. She has won all kinds of music awards, so she must be familiar with them. And even if she didn't know, she could find someone who knew the inside story to inquire. Sure enough, after listening to Lu Chen's words, the singing queen said with a smile, "You don't have to ask others. I can guess what's going on. You better not go. Neither of these 2 awards will fall into your hands." She told Lu Chen that the reason why the invitation letter came so late should be that Shonan TV did not include him in the award nomination at all. Later they should be worried that the public opinion would be too controversial, so they threw out 2 pieces of bait. In 2015, no one could ignore the rise of Lu Chen in the domestic pop music industry. He insisted on the original route and wrote more than 20 excellent works. His debut album sold well and all of them were on the Original Music Chart. The results were extremely dazzling. Under such circumstances, if the Chinese Music Chart excludes Lu Chen, an excellent singer and songwriter, then its self-proclaimed authority will be a joke. But it was the limit to nominate him for 2 awards. Lu Chen definitely could not get it if he wanted to. Shonan TV's moral integrity had never been counted on. Moreover, they were thick-skinned and not afraid of being scolded. They also hired a large number of internet water army pushers. They were very good at controlling public opinion. The nomination was given to you. If you can't get it, it's your own problem. Shonan TV had done such a thing before. Lu Chen was not the first to be cheated, nor would he be the last. Understanding the inside story, Lu Chen said resolutely, "Then I will ignore it." What a joke. Would he send his face to be slapped by others? The water in the entertainment circle was really too deep. Qin Fei said, "Don't ignore it completely. Otherwise you'll be unreasonable. Let your sister go." Lu Chen could not go. If he went, he would definitely be slapped in the face. But if he ignored it, he would become a laughing stock. People with ulterior motives would accuse him of acting like a big shot. The relationship in the entertainment circle was like this. Even if they fought to the death behind the scenes, they still had to abide by the rules and etiquette on the surface. Otherwise, they would be unreasonable even if they were reasonable. Letting Lucy go was undoubtedly the most suitable. No matter whether she could get the award in the end, no one could say anything. Even if Shonen TV wanted to slap her face, they would not be able to do so. How could they slap her if she was not there? Moreover, Luchin also has a suitable reason, that is, the invitation letter of Xiangnan Satellite TV was sent too late, but the schedule was wrong. This reason was given by the latter herself. Chen Fei said, "Remember to post on your blog that you just got the invitation letter today. You're very happy. You're very grateful to Shonen TV. Say that you're very sorry that you can't go in person because of work arrangements." Luchin was stunned. Then he immediately understood. He was completely convinced by this heavenly queen sister. In this way he was firmly in the right. No matter what Shonen TV did later, it did not matter. "I'll write it now." Chen Fei smiled and said, "Don't be too anxious. By the way, someone secretly took a photo of us at the Azure Coast. It has just been posted on the blog. My studio will issue a statement. You should also follow up on it." Photo of the Azure Coast? Lu Chen hurriedly said goodbye to Chen Fei and hurriedly logged into the Waves blog. Since it involved the Azure Coast, it must have been secretly taken when they were filming. However, he remembered that the scene was cleared at that time. He did not expect the paparazzi to be so resourceful. In just half a minute, Lu Chen saw a photo of him and Chen Fei on the official V of an entertainment website. There were stills of him carrying Chen Fei while filming, and pictures of the two holding hands after it was over. The person who secretly took the photo should have used a high-power telephoto lens to secretly take the photo. The photo was not very clear, but it was still easy to distinguish the intimate state between the two. The related blog posts were accompanied with sensational titles and content, such as Chen Fei's love and so on. The words were so convincing that it made Lu Chen feel ashamed. His own blog also exploded. Many fans left comments. "Brother Lu Chen, are you and Chen Fei really dating? My heart is broken. How can this be? I already knew that Lu Chen and Chen Fei are not simple. It's not the first time there has been a scandal. Bless them. Ah, big Lu Chen is mighty. Don't say any more. If this is true, then I'll kill myself. I really don't know what you guys are doing. Isn't it normal for Juanxi and Eunhee to be together? Please tell me the truth." Lu Chen's latest blog post was published yesterday. As a result, there were more than 100,000 comments now. Obviously, it was affected by the scandal photos. Some fans cheered and congratulated him, while some were sad and doubtful. There were also some extreme comments, which should be from a small number of crazy female fans. Although Lu Chen walked the path of strength and no one doubted his talent, it was undeniable that Lu Chen's handsome appearance also helped him attract a large number of female fans. With more fans, it was inevitable that some would go to extremes. They would regard Lu Chen as their dream lover and spiritual pillar. Once they knew that their idol was in love or married, the consequences were often very serious. There was no lack of such examples in the past. Some idols committed suicide because of their love or marriage, which caused a great wave of public opinion. Therefore, many idols were very careful in this aspect and kept their feelings strictly confidential. It didn't matter if there was a scandal, but admitting a relationship was taboo. Many entertainment agencies even prohibited their contracted artists from dating, which was also to prevent similar incidents from happening, so as to avoid a bad impact on the public. Although Lu Chen and Chen Fei both opened their own studios, the number of fans of the two added up is an astonishing number, so they also need to take into account this issue, so they have never made their relationship public. Not only that, they had to deny the rumors. Lu Chen quickly wrote a blog post and posted it, explaining to everyone that this was a stills from the shooting of Autumn in My Heart, and that his relationship with Chen Fei had always been very good. The two of them were like siblings, so there was no need for everyone to misunderstand. In addition, he also talked about the invitation he received from Shonen TV's Chinese music chart, which quickly attracted the attention of the fans. In fact, it wasn't the first time that Lu Chen and Chen Fei had a scandal. Entertainment gossip often talked about the two of them, so everyone was a little used to it, so it was easy to dissipate the impact. Now the fans were concerned about whether Lu Chen could win the Best Newcomer and Best Composer awards. They didn't know that the truth was so cruel. Chapter 275. On February 23rd and 24th, Hygiene Satellite TV broadcast the 13th and 14th episodes of Autumn in My Heart during primetime. Under the expectations of countless Blue fans, the ratings broke through 2%. This was a remarkable result, and it was also the first urban drama since 2012 to break 2%. Therefore, it caused another sensation both inside and outside the circle. Although many people had accurate predictions in advance, when this miracle of ratings really happened, countless people were still shocked and incredulous. Heated discussions about Autumn in My Heart became a common phenomenon. The total investment of Autumn in My Heart was just over 10 million, and including the publicity costs, it would not exceed 15 million. For a medium-length drama of 20 episodes, the production cost was very low. Most of the actors in the drama were unknown newcomers, and the two main characters were not professional actors. Lu Qin and Chen Fei were both singers without much acting experience. As for the drama itself, the story belonged to Lu Chen's original, and had nothing to do with popular IP. What made people most speechless was that the plot of the drama was very cruel, completely different from the popular happy reunion of a handsome man and a beautiful woman, or a Cinderella and a domineering CEO. Although the ending had not been released, it was very likely to be a big tragedy. But such a drama was popular and it was a complete mess. This is a pure love drama full of tears. Someone wrote on a blog, "Watching this drama, I have never considered the logic of love in it because I can't understand why the two who were brother and sister since childhood could develop into lovers. But the music, the pictures and the acting skills of the actors are enough to make everyone's heart melt." The story starts softly, but the accumulated sadness hits us at the climax. It is very tense and I won't get tired of listening to it. The picture, the childhood village and the farm after growing up, is very much like the world in a fairy tale. Whether the actors were young or grown up, they are so cute, beautiful and handsome. In short, they are very pleasing to the eye. Whether it is the lead or the supporting role, their acting skills are excellent, and their emotional expression is very good. In today's strange and dazzling society, it is full of fast food feelings, and even the screen is full of temptation and competition, which makes people more and more confused and at a loss. Now I don't have the patience to watch a TV series from beginning to end, and I've begun to laugh at myself for watching too many brainless and superficial idle dramas. But in the process of watching Autumn in My Heart, I feel calm and sorrowful as if it had just rained, and the air is so fresh. I like this drama and that's it. I don't expect a perfect ending, but I will definitely follow it to the end. The blogger who wrote this long blog post, Sherbing, has no fame. He is just a very ordinary member of Inspire blog. He is not even AV number and has only a few dozen fans. But when her blog post was reposted, the number of fans increased by 100-fold. Many blue fans left comments, expressing the same opinion as her. The popularity of Autumn in My Heart was evident. On the Waves blog, the number of fans of Autumn in My Heart had exceeded 1 million, so much so that the officials had specially opened a separate discussion section for the drama, which attracted a lot of popularity. In the face of the craze caused by Autumn in My Heart, the urban romance or idol dramas that were broadcast at the same time were greatly suppressed. Even Shonen TV's My Heart Soars suffered a crushing defeat in the collision with Autumn in My Heart, and the ratings fell to 0.35%. This made Shonen TV's hype for My Heart Soars a month ago all a joke. And the happiest and most depressed was Hygiene TV, which was broadcasting the premiere of Autumn in My Heart Soars. The ratings of Autumn in My Heart Soars had exceeded 2%, and with 6 episodes to go, the momentum would continue to rise. It was a foregone conclusion that the domestic average ratings of the entire drama would exceed 1%, and it would not be strange for it to reach 1.5% or even more. The betting agreement between the two parties was based on the average domestic ratings of 0.25%. For every 0.10% increase, the buyout price for one episode would be increased by 100,000. Calculating at 1.5%, Hygiene TV would pay 1.2 million for one episode, and 20 episodes would be a whole 24 million. On the one hand, Hygiene TV had earned a lot of advertising fees because of the popularity of Autumn in My Heart Soars, and on the other hand they felt the pain of having to pay the extra fees. If they had known it would be like this, they would have made a profit by buying 1 million for one episode. Hygiene TV was in pain and happy at the same time, and other people or units related to Autumn in My Heart Soars, including investors, directors, actors and so on, all enjoyed a generous meal. Chen Fei and Lu Chen's fan circle had expanded a lot, and the number of advertisers and performers who came to their door was like a school of carps crossing the river. In particular, Lu Chen's value had risen to a level that he could not have imagined before. Before the broadcast of Autumn in My Heart Soars, 1 million was enough to hire Lu Qin to be a spokesperson for the brand for a year. Now Lu Shi's offer to the public was at least 5 million, and if it was less than that there was no need to speak. As for people looking for Lu Qin to cooperate, to act in movies and TV series, and even to publish books, there was an endless stream of people. As for these bustling troubles, Lu Qin let Lu Shi deal with them all, and he stayed in Jinling to complete all the dubbing and music for the last few episodes of Autumn in My Heart Soars. On January 30th, the day that the 15th episode of Autumn in My Heart Soars was broadcasted, the famous ID Stray Cats posted a post on the entertainment section of the Sky Forum, one of the largest BBS forums in China, which received the attention of a large number of netizens. The title of this post was very interesting. It was called, "Crazy, Domineering and Super Handsome." There was not a single word in the post, and Stray Cats only posted a carefully edited high-definition GIF video. In this short 30-second video, the main character was Lu Qin. He was wearing a black armor, riding a fine horse, holding a bright silver spear and charging towards the Hun New army. He was like a tiger, and his horse was like a dragon, showing everyone a character that was completely different from the image in Autumn in My Heart Soars. This video was very well shot, and the close-up and angle shift were used perfectly showing the momentum and bravery of a valiant general. It made people's blood boil uncontrollably, and it was very much like a scene from a blockbuster movie. The ID Stray Cats was very famous in the entertainment section of the Sky Forum. His identity was quite mysterious, and no one knew whether he was a man or a woman or what his occupation was. In the entertainment section, he would expose big and small news in the entertainment industry. For example, a certain celebrity had cheated, a certain idol scolded his fans, a certain big shot was gay. In fact, many people knew that Stray Cats should be a pushing force on the internet, but his posts have a common feature, that is, they have substance and the information is often genuine, and there are very few groundless or fictitious facts. Therefore, they are regarded as the guiding light of the entertainment section by forum netizens, and the number of clicks and comments is often very high. At the beginning, Stray Cats once pushed Lu Qin, and also slapped several judges of Shonen TV and Singing China in the face, which caused a sensation on the internet and caused a considerable impact. This video post was also related to Lu Qin, and attracted a large number of replies in just a few minutes. It's really awesome. Is this a stunt? It feels like he didn't use a stunt double. He's very handsome. This one looks a little familiar. Haha, you don't even know Lu Qin? The original talent of the Prince of Folk Songs, the male lead of Autumn in My Heart Soars. Professionals said that he didn't use a stunt double or add a stunt double in these scenes. It's a real skill. I just said 3 words, too handsome. Hype? It should be hype, but who can tell me what Lu Qin is shooting? Yeah, it's almost the new year and I haven't heard of him starting a new play. It should be an advertisement, right? Or a music video. Of the people who commented on the post, 9 out of 10 were praising and amazed. Everyone has seen historical dramas and there are many famous actors who have played generals, but the young general played by Lu Qin gave everyone the feeling as the title of Stray Cats' post, crazy, domineering, strong and handsome. The video was quickly moved to a blog, and Stray Cats also posted the same blog post on his personal blog. As a result, the video spread on the internet like a virus, and even appeared in many QQ groups, attracting the curiosity of countless netizens, making cool, domineering, strong handsome explode the sky, quickly appear on the hot list of the blog homepage. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that this is marketing hype, but more people who don't know the truth are looking for answers. What kind of film is Lu Qin shooting? What kind of film are you shooting? When he received a call from Chen Fei, Lu Qin had just seen the short video that was being forwarded everywhere on the blog. He smiled bitterly and said, "It's the Great Han Wu Di that I guest starred in." The movie that you guest starred in? Chen Fei knew that Lu Qin guest starred in a movie in Jinling, and suddenly realized, then it's official leak, why are all your scenes? Official leak of a film that is being filmed is a common means of hype. Lu Qin touched his nose, I want to know too. Most of the footage he shot was in this half-a-minute-long video. Chen Fei smiled, it should be because you are popular now that 200,000 yuan is so worth it. Lu Qin smiled, yeah. He had a guest role in The Great Han Wu Di, and used half a day to satisfy his craving for acting, and at the same time made a fortune. He thought he had taken advantage of it, but he didn't expect others to be so smart. The scene that Lu Qin shot had nothing to do with the whole movie, because the main character was Emperor Han Wu, and even the cavalry general Hua Tsubing was only a supporting character. However, the crew of The Great Han Wu Di was very creative, and they actually created this short video to hype up the movie, which was very clever. Of course, Lu Chen would not say that he felt he had taken advantage of it, because it was also a positive promotion for himself. Because of this video, the comments section of Lu Chen's blog was once again flooded with comments. Chapter 276. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was February 2016. Because February 7th was New Year's Eve, the atmosphere of the new year was getting stronger and stronger. Schools had already started their winter vacation, and enterprises, institutions, and companies had also entered the rhythm of the new year. All kinds of photos showing the year-end bonus flooded the circle of friends. On February 1st, Lu Chen returned to Beijing. The first big thing after returning to Beijing was that he invited all his colleagues in the studio to have a New Year's Eve dinner. Lu Chen discussed with Lu Shi that February 2nd was an official holiday. Because the employees of the studio were not locals in Beijing, they basically had to go home for the new year. They wanted to have an early holiday to avoid being too crowded on the way back. Therefore, the New Year's Eve dinner was on the evening of the 1st, and the location was the Regent Hotel in Beijing. It has only been half a year since Lu Chen's studio was established. Because it mainly revolves around Lu Chen's service and does not involve other business, the number of employees has not increased much, and has always maintained the original few people. Li Feiyu, Chen Xian, Chen Xiang, Chen Xiaomei. It was just 2 or 3 small kittens. In addition, there was Qin Jianhao, who had been holding the title of honorary consultant of the studio. Although Lu Chen wanted Sister Na to come and join in the fun, unfortunately because Sister Na was pregnant and had some health problems, she was currently recuperating at home, so he could only let Qin Jianhao represent her. All 7 of them sat down in a small private room. The small studio did not hold an annual party or a lucky draw, but before the meal, Lu Chen sent the big red envelope of the year-end bonus to everyone, even his sister Lu Shi. Although Lu Chen's studio was small and established for a short time, its ability to attract money was quite strong. It was estimated that the investment in shooting Autumn in My Heart could eventually bring more than 15 million in profit. Therefore, the red envelope prepared by Lu Chen was very thick, which made everyone smile. After the red envelope was given, they started to eat. The small number of people did not affect the lively atmosphere. Qin Jianhao sat next to Lu Chen. After they had a toast, he asked, "Are you going to Shaoqing tomorrow to attend the Shonen TV Music Chart Award ceremony?" Qin Jianhao didn't use his blog, so he didn't know what Lu Chen was planning. Lu Chen smiled and said, "I'm not going. I'll let my sister join in the fun." Qin Jianhao was stunned for a moment before he smiled. "I was worried that you would be scammed. Shonen TV isn't a good company." He was originally in the industry, so he knew this trick very well. Ding ling ling. While they were talking and laughing, Lu Chen's phone suddenly rang. He took it out and glanced at it. He was a little surprised. Lu Shi, who was sitting on the other side, noticed his expression and asked, "What's wrong?" Lu Chen shook his head and said, "Nothing. I'll take a call." It was a little noisy in the box, so he went out to the corridor outside and answered the phone. "Hello, Sister Wang Jing." It was Wang Jing from Nirvana Studios who called Lu Chen. Lu Chen's earliest You Who Sat Next to Me album was in cooperation with Nirvana Studios. The arrangement and soundtrack were completed by this Jingying graduate, and the standard was quite high. Later, Lu Chen also cooperated with Nirvana Studios several times, but the equipment and staffing of Nirvana Studios were still a little poor, so he gradually transferred his business to Flying Stone Records. Compared with Nirvana Studios, Flying Stone Records was completely crushed, and Lu Chen was not short of that production fee. Therefore, he and Wang Jing haven't been in touch for a while. However, Lu Chen has always appreciated Wang Jing's professionalism and work attitude. He felt that it was a pity that she was holed up in her own Nirvana Studios, which limited her ability to play and improve. But he didn't know why she suddenly called him. Wang Jing's voice on the phone sounded a little anxious. "Lu Chen, I'm really sorry to bother you. I've encountered something here. Can you lend me some money? I'll find a way to return it to you as soon as possible." Lu Chen replied without hesitation, "No problem. How much do you need?" Lu Chen didn't know Wang Jing for a day or two. When they made the album, You Who Sat Next to Me, the two worked together in Nirvana Studios for a long time. Lu Chen learned a lot of music arrangement knowledge from her. Therefore, Lu Chen has a good understanding of Wang Jing's character. The other party is a very self-respecting girl. If she wasn't at the end of her rope, she would never ask him to borrow money. Just like himself. Therefore, Lu Chen agreed without hesitation. His straightforwardness was obviously beyond Wang Jing's expectation. After a while, the latter said, "Thank you. I want to ask you to borrow 100,000. No, 50,000 is fine. Lu Chen said with a smile, 100,000 is fine. Give me your eFubao account number and I'll transfer it to you now. Wang Jing said, thank you, thank you. Her voice was a little choked up. Lu Chen said, you're welcome. We're friends. Manager Wang is also a good person. If you have any difficulties, just tell me. I will definitely help if I can. Who hasn't encountered trouble? Lu Chen knew that the operation of Nirvana Studios was not very good. At the beginning, Wang Changxing took out all his savings and borrowed a lot of money to buy a full set of equipment to support his son and daughter's career. But because of the fierce competition in the industry, it had been barely maintained. In order to attract business, he ran to other people's companies and waited for rabbits. Lu Chen was the rabbit that he ran into. The album You Who Sat Next to Me was a big seller which brought some business to Nirvana Studios. But now Wang Jing was in a hurry to borrow money from Lu Chen. She must have encountered some trouble. Cash flow problems, creditors pressing for repayment. These were all possible, but Lu Chen wouldn't ask. If Wang Jing wanted to say it, she would say it. If she didn't want to say it, why ask? After ending the call with Wang Jing, Lu Chen returned to the box and sent a text message. Lu Chen looked at it and confirmed that it was Wang Jing's account name. He forwarded it to Lu Shi. Sister, transfer 100,000 yuan to this Ufubao account now. The studio's funds were in the hands of Lu Shi, and Lu Chen's account only had some pocket money. Okay. Lu Shi agreed, but when she saw the account number, she couldn't help but look a little strange. Wang Jing, the girl from Nirvana Studios? Lu Shi had been to Nirvana Studios once and knew Wang Changxing's family. Of course, she had also seen Wang Jing. Lu Chen nodded, yes. Lu Shi asked, what happened? Why did you transfer money to her? Originally, Lu Shi didn't intend to ask because the current Lu Chen was not the troublesome person he used to be. But when she saw that the person who transferred the money was Wang Jing, her sister couldn't help but have some other thoughts, so she asked a few more questions. Lu Chen explained, she borrowed money from me. Maybe she encountered some trouble. Lu Shi rolled her eyes, I remember that Wang Jing is very beautiful. The implication was that Lu Chen borrowed money because he saw that other people were beautiful. Was his old problem acting up again? Lu Chen used to be very popular with girls. Although he didn't do anything like stepping on end boats, when he was in college, others criticized him a lot, which led to Lucy at that time to dislike him very much. In fact, most of those criticisms were slander from jealous people. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Sister? Lu Shi said with a smile, well, you don't need to explain. I'm joking with you. She unlocked her Yifu account with her fingerprint and transferred 100,000 yuan to Wang Jing's account quickly. After a few minutes, Wang Jing replied to Lu Chen, the money has been received. Thank you. Lu Chen didn't reply. He quickly put this matter to the back of his mind. The second day after the New Year's Eve dinner, that is February 2nd, Lu Shi flew to Shacheng with Chen Xan. She was going to attend the Chinese Music Chart Award ceremony held by Shonan TV at the Xiangjiang Grand Theater that night as a guest of Lu Chen. The award ceremony began at 18 o'clock, with a red carpet ceremony, which was broadcast live by Shonan TV. Since the end of the 1990s, the reform in China had been intensified. In the spirit of letting 100 flowers bloom, the State Administration of Radio, Film and Television had relaxed the policy constraints on local satellite TV stations. Without the band-tightening curse on their heads, local satellite TV stations began to show their magic power and began to run on the road of marketization and commercialization. Therefore, Shonan TV suddenly rose to prominence. Up to now, relying on the two magic weapons of variety shows and self-made dramas, Xiangnan Satellite TV has been firmly occupying the throne of local satellite TV stations, and the annual advertising income has made its peers envious and jealous. It can really be described as rich and imposing. This year's Chinese Music Chart Award ceremony was extraordinarily grand. A red carpet as long as 100 meters was spread from the entrance of the Xiangjiang Grand Theater to the intersection of the square. High-power lighting poles were erected around it, illuminating the whole scene. The barriers were all covered with colorful advertisements. A large number of media reporters rushed to the scene. As for the people who came to see the fun, there was a sea of people. The armed police officers were maintaining order, and there were even helicopters flying in the sky. At the entrance of the Xiangjiang Grand Theater stood a golden Roman-style arch, and the signature wall was extended. Dozens of young girls were standing there with flowers in their hands, welcoming the guests from all over the country. With such a big battle, Shonan TV naturally invited a very luxurious lineup of stars, including hundreds of stars from both sides of the Taiwan Strait in 3 places. There were as many as 4 or 5 big names in China. Shonan TV was using this method to prove to the world that it was still the leader of the local satellite TV stations, the overlord of the variety world, and an indispensable existence in the entertainment industry. A brand new Mercedes-Benz drove over from the road that had been blocked and steadily stopped at the beginning of the red carpet. One after another, stars appeared on the stage, attracting countless flashes of light and screams from fans. Li Xing, Tan Hong, Lu Zhonghan, Qin Fei, Liao Jia. One by one, the fluorescent signs were raised high, and familiar names were called out one after another. It was really a dazzling scene. Chapter 277. The Chinese music chart was founded by Shonan TV and Xiangjiang Satellite TV in 2006. As one of the three grand ceremonies of the pop music world, the Chinese music chart had 27 awards in total, including the Best Album of the Year, the Best Male Singer, the Best Female Singer, the Most Popular Male Singer, the Most Popular Female Singer, the Best Single, the Best Newcomer, the Best Composer, the Best Lyricist, and the Best Producer. The award party was held in the Xiangjiang Grand Theater and was broadcast live by Shonan TV and Xiangjiang Satellite TV. The Xiangjiang Grand Theater was one of the largest opera houses in China, which could accommodate 2,000 spectators. It mainly staged operas, dances, and large-scale cultural performances. It was a representative building of Shaqing culture and art. Under the careful arrangement of Shonan TV, the Grand Theater showed a very modern atmosphere. The large screen wall behind the stage was matched with excellent sound and light effects, creating a magnificent scene of a bustling ceremony. The four hosts who hosted the award party were Shonan TV and Xiangjiang Satellite TV. Xia Yu and Fang Chen from Shonan TV were famous variety hosts in China. The party opened with a grand song and dance, and the famous singer Shang Fangfang sang, "The Most Beautiful Song." After the song was finished, the audience burst into thunderous applause, and the award ceremony officially began. The Chinese music charts award method was very interesting. The award winners were jointly selected by the expert jury and the audience jury. The former had 12 members, and the latter had 100 so-called audience representatives. And these 100 audience representatives were chosen from thousands of ordinary audience members. Since the traditional way of audience voting was abandoned, Shonan TV strongly advocated the fairness and impartiality of the Chinese music chart, claiming that it was inspired by the U.S. presidential election and eliminated the possibility of vote rigging. People in the industry scoffed at Shonan TV's boasting. However, the former was willing to spend money and could invite a large number of stars and artists, so the Chinese music chart's ratings had always been high. The money that Shonan TV spent was doubled through the sky-high title sponsorship and advertising. As for the fairness and impartiality, it was actually just for ordinary people. According to the usual practice, the first to be announced were the small awards, such as the Media Recommendation Award, the Annual Contribution Award, the Best Music Video, and so on. Soon, one award after another was announced, pushing the atmosphere of the award ceremony to a climax. Among the 27 awards, Lu Qin was nominated for Best Newcomer and Best Composer. In terms of the weight of the award, the Best Composition Award was much higher than the Best Newcomer Award and was on par with the Most Popular Male/Female Singer Award. Therefore, the first award related to Lu Qin was the Best Newcomer of the Year award. Next, we will announce the Best Newcomer award on the Chinese music chart. Shonan TV host Xia Yu said into the microphone, "Let's take a look at the list of nominees first." They are. On the big screen behind her, the list of 4 candidates instantly appeared. Lu Qin, Cui Jingji, Zhou Bei and Wang Guangming. All 4 of them are newcomers who have debuted in the last 2 years. Cui Jingji was the runner-up of Shonan TV's Super Male Voice, in 2014. He signed with the company Qing Tian Entertainment and published his debut album, Provocation, in 2015. The criterion for the Best Newcomer Award is to debut within 3 years and to have released an album. Zhou Bei was the winner of the 2015 Deep Sea Satellite TV's Ace Variety Show, National Idol. After signing with Starlight Media, she released her debut album Blooming Flower. Interestingly, in addition to Wang Guangming, Lu Qin, Cui Jingji, and Zhou Bei released their debut albums only a few days apart. At that time they battled fiercely on QQ Music, and in the end Lu Chen's You Who Sat Next to Me won. The 4 newcomers were all quite eye-catching in the pop music world in 2015. Now, let's invite Mr. Lu Zhonghan to reveal the winner of the Best Newcomer and award the award at the same time. Lu Zhonghan, dressed in a well-ironed suit, walked onto the stage amidst applause. Lu Zhonghan is a famous singer in Hong Kong, but in recent years he has been developing in China and has released many albums. He faced the microphone, took out the envelope with the winner's name from his pocket and opened it. The best newcomer of the year on the Chinese music chart was about to be announced. At this moment, the audience sitting in front of the TV and computer watching the award ceremony was in high spirits. In Lu Chen's live broadcast room on Whale TV, countless Lu Chen fans were also waiting for the answer to be revealed. Most of them firmly believe that the best newcomer is Lu Chen. The reason is very simple. In the pop music world in 2015, there is no better newcomer than Lu Chen. He won the championship of Singing China, published his first platinum album, You Who Sat Next to Me, wrote songs for the Bionics, produced albums for MSN, and wrote for Chen Fei, who could match up to all of his deeds and achievements. Cui Jingji. The next moment, Lu Zhonghan said the winner of the Best Newcomer Award, "Congratulations Cui Jingji." Cui Jingji, who was sitting on the right side of the third row of the auditorium, immediately stood up and hugged the people around him with a smile on his face. A beam of spotlight fell on him and followed his footsteps to the stage. However, when the 2,000 audience and guests at the scene heard the name, they did not applaud warmly as they did when the winner was announced. Instead, there was an uproar and discussion, mixed with a small number of sporadic applause. The news that Lu Chen was nominated for the Best Newcomer and Best Composer in the Chinese music chart has long been spread in the circle, and people who know naturally know it. Many people in the industry believe that Lu Chen will probably win the Best Newcomer and miss the Best Composer, because the latter has a lot of weight and is very particular about qualifications. It is not a big prize that can be easily won by a newcomer. Lu Chen is too young. He has achievements but not enough qualifications. However, no one expected that the Best Newcomer Award, which he is most likely to win, will fall on Cui Jingji. Compared with Lu Chen's dazzling achievements in 2015, Cui Jingji is really too poor. His debut album was defeated by Lu Chen, and there are not many works on the domestic heavyweight list. It is nothing more than a lot of hype and frequent announcements. It is a little incredible that Lu Chen will lose to Cui Jingji. Only those who know the inside story know that this is the usual habit of Shonan TV. They nominated Lu Chen for these two awards, nothing more than to slap him in the face. Lu Chen has offended Shonan TV a lot. As the saying goes, everyone has a scale in their heart. Shonan TV's obvious award manipulation inevitably makes people feel disgusted. Even if it is impossible for people to raise objections, how can they applaud Cui Jingji enthusiastically? There are also people who applaud. In addition to the staff of Shonan TV and the audience support, there are some other people. Chen Fei is one of them. The Heavenly Queen is sitting in the middle of the second row of the auditorium, with a faint smile on her face and gently clapping. She is very reserved. One after another, as if she is slapping someone's face. Chapter 278. The winner of the 2015 Chinese Music Chart's Best Newcomer of the Year award is Cui Jingji. Congratulations Cui Jingji. When Lu Zhonghan revealed the answer to the riddle, Whale TV Lu Chen's live broadcast room suddenly exploded. Countless fans watching the live broadcast in front of the computer couldn't believe what had just happened. It felt as if they had been hit hard in the head with a stick. Many people were stunned. What the? How could it be Cui Jingji? Is there a mistake? It's too dark. It's a joke. Who can be big and stronger than Lu Chen as the best newcomer? Who can tell me who Cui Jingji is? I've never heard of him. What songs did he sing? Oh, Shonan TV is like this. I've expected it. I won't watch Shonan TV in the future. It's too annoying. Let's go. It's boring. Not only in the live broadcast room but also in blogs, forums, and QQ groups, Lu Chen's fans are complaining. Previously, it was widely believed that the Best Newcomer of the Year award was the first music award that Lu Chen was most likely to win. They optimistically believed that he could complete a double win and win the Best Composition award. There are even many fans who expressed dissatisfaction with Lu Chen's only 2 nominations. As a result, he didn't even win the Most Confident award. How can he not be angry? At this moment, in the Xiangjiang Grand Theater, Cui Jingji took the Crystal Award from Lu Zhonghan on stage. It's just that the annual Newcomer King's expression was more or less embarrassed, because the reaction of the audience was a bit face-slapping, which made this gilded honor lose a lot of luster. He held the award and said into the microphone, "Thank you Shonan TV, thank you Xiangjiang Satellite TV." The thank you speech was dry without much passion and excitement. The reaction of the audience at the scene was finally a little enthusiastic. After Cui Jingji finished speaking, they also gave him a lot of applause so that he would not be embarrassed to the point of being unable to get off the stage. After all, Everyone was disgusted with Shonan TV's actions, and they didn't have much of an opinion about Cui Jingji. But in fact, Cui Jingji knew that he would win this award. The agency he signed with had a close relationship with Shonan TV. It would be a joke to say that he was kept in the dark beforehand. Cui Jingji hurried off the stage. Fang Qin, the host of Shonan TV, immediately began to announce the nominees for the next award. It was better to quickly get over this awkward moment. Then Lu Qin also lost the Best Composition Award, which was won by the famous musician Tan Hu. Tan Hu is a first-class songwriter in the domestic pop music industry. He has created hundreds of songs including emotional, folk, blues and even theme songs. There is no lack of classics that have been sung all over the country. He enjoys a high reputation in the circle. If Tan Hu and Lu Qin were compared separately, Lu Qin was definitely not as good as Tan Hu in terms of the number of works, qualifications and status in the circle. But when Tan Hu received the Best Composition Award from the hands of the guest presenter Tan Hong, he said, "I'm very happy to win this award here tonight. I'm deeply honored and frightened by the Chinese music chart's love. But I'm also very ashamed because I didn't create a commendable work in 2015. Compared with the other candidates, I really failed to live up to their love." The Xiangjiang Grand Theater, which could accommodate 2,000 audiences, became very quiet. Everyone was quietly listening to the sincere voice of the middle-aged man with a lot of white hair. "I've been engaged in music creation for more than 20 years. I've won all the awards and honors that I deserve, so I hope that the seniors in our industry can use more strength to support and encourage the newcomers, because they are the hope of Chinese original music. That's all I have to say. Thank you again. Thank you, Shonan TV and Hong Kong Satellite TV." After that, Tan Hu bowed deeply to everyone. As soon as his voice fell, the audience burst into thunderous applause, and many people even stood up to applaud. Among them was Lu Shi. Lu Shi attended the award party as Lu Chen's representative. She was not surprised by the result at all because she had expected it. She had no illusions about the moral integrity of Shonan TV. However, Lu Shi did not expect that there were so many people in this circle who were willing to support Lu Chen. Although their support was very implicit, it should be known that Lu Chen had only been in the industry for more than half a year, and his contacts in the circle were still in the initial stage. Many people did not even know him. For example, Tan Hu. Anyone could tell that Tan Hu was implicitly expressing his dissatisfaction with Shonan TV. He was dissatisfied with the latter's deliberate suppression of newcomers like Lu Chen. His criticism was not fierce, nor was it a storm-like attack, but it was also powerful. Lu Chen's work that was selected for the best composition was You Who Sat Next to Me, but in the circle, it was generally believed that Lu Chen's best work was In the Spring, or I Love You China. These two works were very popular and could be called classics. Even if it was You Who Sat Next to Me, Tan Hu's award-winning work Pencil Roll paled in comparison. Tan Hu himself did not deny this, and he was not really happy about winning the award. Strictly speaking, Shonan TV was suspected of using him as a weapon. Tan Hu really didn't care about the Best Composition Award. He had never met Lu Chen, but he appreciated the latter very much. After the Best Composition Award, it was the heavyweight Best Album, Most Popular Male and Female Singer, Best Male and Female Singer, and so on. However, as the awards were announced, it gave people the feeling that it was the end after the climax. Even if the four hosts tried their best to adjust the atmosphere, it was still tepid. That night, Qin Fei won the Most Popular Female Singer Award. She went on stage and said a few words. On the second day after the end of the 2015 Chinese Music Chart Awards ceremony, many entertainment media published the winners' list and comments. Among them, Lu Chen's failure to be selected as the best newcomer was the loudest voice of doubt. On the internet, such voices were magnified at least 10 times. Many Lu Chen's fans went to Shonan TV's official blog and Tieba forum to mock and criticize the latter. As a result, it triggered a war of words with the internet water army of Shonan TV. On Immerse blog, some people ridiculed Xiangnan Satellite TV for lifting a stone and smashing its own foot, and its table manners were too ugly. As the center of public opinion, Lu Chen remained calm. He expressed regret that he had lost 2 awards and did not comment on the practice of Xiangnan Satellite TV, which disappointed many guys who wanted to watch the fun. Tian, Xiangnan Satellite TV, because Lu Chen didn't need to care about the Chinese Music Chart Awards. He had already received the invitation of the Asian Chinese Music Chart and was nominated for 4 awards. Chapter 279. The Asian Chinese Music Chart was created by CCTV and CCTV in conjunction with major TV stations and radio stations. The award ceremony was fixed to be held on the evening of February 18th. It had been held for the 15th time so far. It was one of the oldest and most authoritative music awards in China. It had a certain influence in Asia and was regarded as the annual music festival by domestic musicians. The award was more valuable than the Chinese music chart. The panel of judges for the Asian Chinese music chart was made up of professionals, including members of the Music Association, well-known seniors in the circle, professors of music academies, famous music critics, etc. The judging criteria also referred to the on-demand data and network data of major domestic radio stations. Similarly, there was no audience voting for the Asian Chinese Top Songs chart. That was because in the early years there was audience voting. In the end, there were all kinds of vote rigging and cheating every year, which made people dumbfounded. That made the grand award ceremony almost become a place for vote rigging. So later the organizers simply cancelled it and replaced it with a strong panel of judges. As early as January, Lu Qin received an invitation letter from the organizing committee of the Asian Chinese Music Chart award ceremony. He was nominated for Best Newcomer, Best Composition, Best Lyrics and Best Album. Although the Asian Chinese Music Chart covered a wider range, there were only 21 awards. There were no categories like Most Popular Male and Female Singers, which were more like pork, which increased the value of the award. The Asian Chinese Music Chart had been held for the 15th time, and no singer had won the title of Best Singer. It was said that this year's Asian Chinese Top Songs chart was likely to be the last one. The Asian Chinese Top Songs chart would be merged with the Chinese Original Music Chart and upgraded to the Global Chinese Original Songs Chart, which would be held on December 31st every year. The source of this news was very reliable. The Chinese Original Music Chart was stopped for the first time this year. It was undoubtedly paving the way for the merger of the two awards. At that time, the Global Chinese Original Songs Chart would become the most authoritative music award in China, sweeping away all the bad actors. Because of this, the Chinese music chart was quickly forgotten. The industry's expectation for the Asian Chinese music chart increased big, and it became the hot topic of the domestic pop music industry at the end of the year. But for most people, the Chinese music chart had nothing to do with them. What they cared about was the Spring Festival. They wanted to use all means of transportation to return home and have a reunion with their families. Countless people were leaving the capital. This super metropolis with a population of 30 million was about to become an empty city. Lu Qin drove the newly purchased Mercedes-Benz SUV all the way to the New Era Art Park. His original Zhonghua X7 was given to Lu Xi. Originally, Lu Qin wanted to buy a new car for his sister, but his sister took the X7 and bought him this million yuan G900. She said that now that his identity is different, driving the X7 is too degrading and will make others look down on him. In fact, Lu Qin is not vain. Although the Zhonghua X7 is a domestic car, it is still very comfortable to drive. However, he couldn't resist his sister's insistence and finally had a luxury. It was normal for young people to want to maintain their reputation. If it was the Lu Qin of the past, he would definitely buy a sports car and drive his girlfriend here to satisfy his cravings after making so much money. But after experiencing 3 periods of life in his dream, his mentality is far more mature and wise than his peers. While pursuing personal career success, his admiration for vanity has faded a lot. Therefore, Lu Qin can calmly look at the defeat of the Chinese music chart. No one can take away what belongs to him. Why should he insist on what doesn't belong to him? What's more, he already has the wealth of a world. After parking the car in the parking lot, Lu Qin walked to Star Fate Art Training Hall. Star Fate Art Training Hall was very famous in Beijing's entertainment industry. It was first established by a joint venture of several entertainment agencies. It was specifically used to train new artists, also known as trainees. The domestic trainee system originated from South Korea. Many large entertainment agencies have their own independent trainee training system, which provides a large number of talents for the entire industry. But this system can't be established casually. It requires a lot of manpower and material resources. Small and medium-sized companies or studios can't afford it at all, so special training institutions have emerged. Star Fate Art Training Hall is one of them, and it is one of the strongest institutions in the industry. It doesn't sign any new trainee artists. It only accepts commission training or image customization. The Star Fate Art Gallery, which was built in the New Era Art Park, was the best in the country, both in terms of facilities and teachers. Many of the music and dance teachers were hired from abroad. After years of development, an extremely perfect training system had been formed. Star Fate Art Training Hall has a completely independent structure, separated from the relationship with the founding company. Therefore, many entertainment agencies, record companies, and film companies in the capital put their signed newcomers here for training. Although many people in the industry criticize that the artists trained by institutions like Star Fate Art Training Hall are like the products of the fashion line, lacking individuality and characteristics. But even the critics can't deny that the new artists trained by such a centralized and professional training system have quite solid basic skills. Moreover, trainee training is also divided into high and low levels. You get what you pay for. The most important thing is that for most entertainment agencies, outsourcing training undoubtedly reduces the cost and saves a lot of time. As for the style and characteristics, they can package it again after they have a foundation. Sister Li. When Lu Qin appeared in front of Star Fate Art Training Hall, he immediately saw Li Jinjin standing at the door. He quickly took off his sunglasses and waved to greet her. Xiao Lu. Sister Li immediately revealed a surprised expression. She grinned and greeted him, "Thank you for your hard work." She walked so fast that even the little assistant beside her couldn't keep up with her. Lu Qin smiled and said, "It's nothing. I come here often." The first time he came to Star Fate Art Training Hall was at Li Jinjin's invitation to see the training of the newly formed Little Tiger Group. According to Sister Li, he was here to give some guidance. After filming Autumn in My Heart, Sister Li had already made up her mind to let her beloved son walk on the path of an artist. She regarded the plan of the youth group proposed by Lu Qin as a treasure. After returning to the capital, Sister Li quickly formed a team for the Little Tiger Group. With little handsome tiger Zhang Juanji as the core, they were sent to Star Fate Art Training Hall for singing and dancing training. According to the plan, the Little Tiger Group will be trained here for half a year before making their debut and releasing their first album. Chapter 280. Star Fate Art Gallery had many training rooms. The rooms were separated by translucent tempered glass. Walking along the long corridor, one could see that all the training rooms were filled with people practicing dance or body movements. One could even faintly hear the accompaniment of music. It was almost Chinese New Year. Many people were about to leave Beijing and return to their hometown. However, the trainees were not among them. They had to seize the time to train and strive for a chance to debut. They could not afford to slack off. The competition in the entertainment industry was always fierce. In today's era, the replacement of new talents was very fast. If one did not make a name for himself after 2 or 3 years, he or she would basically face elimination. Among the hundreds of trainees in Star Fate Art Gallery today, only a few would become famous in the future. Ordinary people saw the glamorous celebrities, but they did not know how many competitors they were stepping on. Fate was always unfair. Although they were all trainees, some had a higher starting point than others. For example, the newly formed Little Tiger Group, not long ago. Zhang Juanji and his 2 friends not only had their own luxurious training rooms, but they also had 2 dance teachers. When Lu Qin and Sister Li came in, the 3 teenagers had just finished a dance. Their foreheads were covered in sweat and they were panting, looking very tired. However, one of the dance teachers was very dissatisfied. He scolded them in an unusually strict tone, pointing out the problems and shortcomings of their movements. He even used a bamboo ruler to whip the arms and legs of the 3, including Zhang Juanji. From the stiff Mandarin of this dance teacher, it was obvious that he was a foreign teacher hired by Star Fate Art Gallery. Star Fate Art Gallery hired more than 10 foreign teachers. It was said that they were all professional teachers from Japan and Korea with rich training experience. This person was undoubtedly one of them. Lu Qin and Sister Li did not rashly go in and disturb him. Sister Li must be very worried about her son. However, she did not interfere at this time. She stood at the door motionlessly, not saying a word even though her eyes were red. This was because Sister Li deeply understood the principle that only those who experienced hardship could rise to the top. Although she had the ability to shield Zhang Juanji from wind and rain, since Zhang Juanji had stepped into this circle, he still had to walk his own path. Just like a young eagle leaving its nest, how could it spread its wings and soar above the blue sky without the baptism of wind and rain? So what if he was scolded and beaten? Which trainee didn't go through this? Being serious was spoiling, but it was the greatest harm. After being reprimanded by the teacher, the 3 youths regained their spirits. Dragging their exhausted bodies, they redid the dance with the accompaniment music. This time the 2 teachers were finally satisfied. After a few words of encouragement, they allowed them to rest for a few minutes. The 3 youths slumped to the ground. Only then did Sister Li push open the door and enter. She greeted the 2 teachers first. "Hello, Teacher Jean." "Hello, Teacher Min." Sister Li had been in the entertainment industry for many years. She had built her career from scratch. Her status in the industry was far above that of the two dance teachers. Even so, they were still polite and courteous to her. Of course, the two teachers were not arrogant people. They hurriedly bowed in return. "Hello, Ms. Lee," Sister Lee smiled and said, "Let me introduce you. This is Teacher Lu Chen." She introduced them to each other. "Lu Chen, this is Teacher Kim Angwa from Korea's Can Management Company." The other teacher, Teacher Min, was from Hong Kong. Kim Angwa was in his 40s. He was tall and thin and his expression was cold. His eyes were long and narrow, giving people a very strict feeling. However, when Sister Lee introduced Lu Chen, he was shocked. He stepped forward and bowed to Lu Chen. He stretched out his hands and said, "Mr. Lu Chen, I've heard a lot about you." Although his accent was a little awkward, the words, "I've heard a lot about you," were spoken clearly and with a good accent. Lu Chen shook hands with him with both hands and said with a smile, "Mr. Kim, you're too polite." He thought that Kim Angwa was just being polite and thought that Kim Angwa knew how to socialize. However, he didn't expect Kim Angwa to say very seriously, "You're welcome. I've heard all of your works, Mr. Lu Chen. I've also watched the TV series you starred in, Romance in My Heart. You're a very talented singer, composer, and actor." After a pause, Kim Angwa continued, "If you were in South Korea, you would definitely become a great artist, just like Han Haomin and Kim Song-hyun." Han Haomin and Kim Song-hyun were both famous artists in South Korea. They were regarded as national idols and had a high influence throughout Asia. They were also stars in film, television, and music. Kim Angwa compared Lu Chen to Han Haomin and Kim Song-hyun, which was undoubtedly a very high praise. Lu Chen was a little surprised and said modestly, "Mr. Kim, you flatter me." Kim Angwa said, "Mr. Lu Chen, you're here to see the training of the little tigers, right? I'll ask them to perform the song you wrote for you now." He turned to the three teenagers and said in a deep voice, "Please show your best." Although Zhang Juanji and the other two were exhausted, they all stood up obediently when they saw Lu Chen and Sister Lee. They didn't dare to interrupt. Hearing Kim Angwa's order, the three of them gritted their teeth and stepped back to put some distance between them. They quickly got into formation. Lu Chen wanted to ask them to take a break first, but he swallowed his words. It wouldn't hurt to let a young man like Zhang Juanji suffer a little more. Teacher Min ran to the sound equipment and played the accompaniment that the little tigers needed. A smooth and light melody instantly sounded in the training room. It was Butterfly Flight. This song was written by Lu Chen specifically for the Little Tigers, and it would also be the title song of the Little Tigers' first album. The style of the Little Tiger group was based on this song Butterflies Fly. Therefore, after Lu Chen gave the music score to Sister Lee invited a famous composer in Beijing to arrange the music, and then sent it to Star Fate Art Museum to choreograph the dance. Zhang Juanji and the other two had practiced it many times. They walked to the music. Although the movements weren't difficult, they were full of the youthful energy of teenagers. As they danced, the three of them sang at the same time. They looked very good. What made Lu Chen happy was that the performance of the three teenagers gradually overlapped with the original version of the Little Tigers in his memory from the dream world. At this time, no one noticed that many trainees had appeared at the entrance of the training room. Both men and women peered inside, most of them with envy or curiosity. Chapter 281. After the performance of Butterfly Flight, the three teenagers were so tired that they were about to collapse. However, they still stood straight. Even though their bodies were shaking uncontrollably, they tried very hard to straighten their backs, as if they were soldiers waiting to be inspected. Their eyes were all focused on Lu Chen's face. Without hard and strict training, it was undoubtedly impossible to achieve this. Jean Angwa and the other teacher, Min, also looked at Lu Chen waiting for his evaluation. Under everyone's gaze, Lu Chen nodded and said, "Very good. It was not easy to train to this level in just 2 months. The choreography of Butterfly Flight was quite good. It fully considered the characteristics of the Little Tiger Troop's age. The choreography was not exaggerated, and the rhythm and sense of movement were very strong." The three teenagers sang and danced at the same time. Even in such a tired situation, they could still move orderly, cooperate well, and sing without going out of tune. It was really commendable. Therefore, Lu Chen's "very good" was not fake politeness, but praise from the bottom of his heart. Jean Angwa's slender face revealed a smile. Seeing that the three teenagers did not react, he could not help but frown and scold them. "What are you standing there for?" Zhang Juanji and the others came to their senses and bowed to Lu Chen together. "Thank you, Teacher Lu." Lu Chen smiled and said, "You're welcome. I know Zhang Juanji. The other two, please introduce yourselves." The two teenagers looked at each other, and the one standing on Zhang Juanji's left introduced himself first. Hello, Teacher Lu. I'm Little Flying Tiger Hu Yiran. Please take care of me. After saying that, he bowed deeply to Lu Qin. His bow was obviously trained and it was very standard. Hello, Teacher Lu. I'm Little Obedient Tiger Yu Yang. Please take care of me. The two members of the Little Tiger Troop were undoubtedly carefully selected. They were similar in height, size and age to Zhang Juanji. Little Flying Tiger Hu Yiran had a slightly masculine appearance, and the contours of his face were clear. Zhang Juanji's facial lines were more gentle, giving people the impression that he was very obedient. Little Handsome Tiger, Little Flying Tiger, and Little Obedient Tiger. Although the three-man Little Tiger group was a group, the members had to have their own personalities and characteristics. That way they would be able to have their own fan circles. Even if they were to fight each other, it would be a good thing. The three teenagers were handsome in their own way, and the Little Tiger Troop was very pleasing to the eye. They believed that once they debuted, they would be able to attract a large number of young fans, especially female fans. In fact, Zhang Juanji was currently very popular on the internet because he had acted in Autumn. His Waves blog had reached more than 500,000 fans, which would undoubtedly pave the way for his official debut next year. Lu Qin nodded. The main reason he came to Star Fate Art Gallery this time was to check on the training of the Little Tiger Troop. According to Sister Lee, if the children met the requirements, it was not impossible for them to debut early. If they could not satisfy Lu Qin, it was reasonable for them to continue training for another year and a half. Of course, Lu Qin wasn't helping for free. Even though Sister Lee had a good relationship with Chen Fei, he still had shares in the company. The establishment of the Little Tiger Troop came from Lu Chen's suggestion, and Sister Lee intended to make it into an entertainment brand. Sending the members to Star Fate Art Gallery for training was one of the reasons. In addition, she registered the names Little Tiger Troop, Little Handsome Tiger, Little Flying Tiger, Little Obedient Tiger, and so on. She also commissioned a professional design company to design a cartoon logo. According to Sister Lee's plan, the Little Tiger Troop brand would be licensed to other areas such as clothing, sports equipment, stationery, toys, electronic products, etc. At that time, Sister Lee would set up an independent company to be responsible for the management and operation of the brand. As the saying goes, think of the source of drinking water. The company that Sister Lee is going to register has reserved a lot of shares for Lu Qin. He didn't need to pay a penny, and he didn't need to participate in the management. He just needed to sit back and wait for the money. After reading Sister Lee's plan some time ago, Lu Qin couldn't help but admire this big sister's business mind. Her success wasn't by luck. Of course, there was no free lunch in the world. Just an idea and creativity wasn't enough to get such rich shares. Lu Qin needed to be responsible for composing songs for the Little Tiger Troop and providing guidance. In fact, the road that Lu Qin was taking now was not only leading to the peak of an artist, but also to the godfather of music. For example, MSN, the Little Tiger Troop, and more in the future. Since the Little Tiger Troop was in good condition, Lu Qin didn't want to continue to disturb these teenagers who were training hard. After chatting with Jean Angua and the others for a while, he planned to leave. What are you all doing here? At this time, a tall woman in her 20s appeared at the door of the training room and scolded the surrounding boys and girls. Go back to your rooms. You can't run around during rest time. A group of teenagers suddenly scattered like birds and beasts. After scolding them, she smiled and greeted Sister Lee. Sister Lee, are you here to see Juanji? Sister Lee said with a smile. Yes, Jennifer, let me introduce you. This is Teacher Lu Qin. Juanji. When the woman named Jennifer saw Lu Qin, her eyes suddenly lit up and she said with a smile, It's really you. She was wearing a set of tight bodybuilding clothes. Her curvaceous figure was perfect, especially her pair of long legs, which were eye-catching. Her appearance was not extremely beautiful, but her high nose and deep eyes showed that she was obviously of foreign descent. She should be a mixed race. Sister Lee introduced the beautiful woman to Lu Qin. This is Jennifer, the art director of Star Fate Art Museum. Her Chinese name is He Wanjun, and she comes from Australia. Lu Qin shook hands with her and said, Hello, Director He. Jennifer stared at Lu Qin with hot eyes and said with a smile, Just call me Jennifer. I like the movie you starred in, Autumn in My Heart. You acted so well. Can I take a picture with you? Since becoming famous, Lu Qin had received a lot of autograph and photo requests. He didn't expect that this woman was also his fan. He smiled and said, Of course, no problem. Jennifer immediately hugged Lu Qin's arm and put his arm between her plump breasts. She turned to Sister Lee and said with a very happy smile, "Sister Lee, please." Sister Lee giggled as she took a few photos of the two of them with her phone. After taking the photos, Jennifer reluctantly let go of Lu Chen's hand and said, "Sister Lee, are you going to leave now? Then let me see you out." She was very straightforward. To everyone's surprise, as soon as Lu Chen and the others left the training room and came to the corridor, a figure suddenly rushed over and blocked their way. Chapter 282. Lu Chen reacted quickly. He stopped and steadied himself in an instant so he didn't bump into the person who suddenly appeared to block his way. The person realized how inappropriate her behavior was. She took a step back with a red face and bowed. "Mr. Lu Chen, I'm a loyal fan of yours and a trainee here. Can you give me some advice?" The person who blocked Lu Chen's way was a girl of 15 or 16 years old. She was short and pretty. She had short bangs, big eyes, and long eyelashes. She looked a bit like an oversized doll. Maybe it was because of excitement or shyness, the girl's face was red, and even her ears were red. When she bowed, she twisted her fingers together, revealing the anxiety in her heart. She didn't stand up after bending down, waiting for Lu Chen's answer. Everyone was shocked to see such a scene. Jennifer, who was next to Lu Chen, frowned and said unhappily, "Zhou Xiaojia, who told you to be so rude? Go back to the practice room immediately." The doors of several rooms on both sides of the corridor were open. Many trainees craned their necks to look around. When they saw Zhou Xiaojia being scolded by Jennifer, most of them had gloating looks on their faces. For most artists, their competition started when they were trainees. Zhou Xiaojia's eyes turned red after being scolded by Jennifer. She held back her tears and said with her head down, "I'm sorry, Director Mr. Lu Chen, I'm sorry." She was about to turn around and leave while apologizing. Lu Chen smiled and said, "It doesn't matter. Which agency are you from?" The girl was quite adorable, which reminded him of his precious sister at home. Lu Shui was only a few years older than Zhou Xiaojia. She was supposed to be at the age where she enjoyed the love of her parents, but because she had embarked on the path of an artist, she had to train hard here even during the new year. Zhou Xiaojia suddenly showed a look of surprise and quickly replied, "Mr. Lu Chen, I'm signed with Wanshur Media." Wanshur Media? Lu Chen didn't have any impression of it. It was definitely not a big company in the industry. The number of entertainment agencies and film companies in Beijing, as well as all kinds of studios, could be said to be as many as the hairs on a cow. The competition was too fierce, so many small and medium-sized companies were quite miserable, and even the artists they signed were suffering. Many artists signed by small companies did not have a chance to make a name for themselves. Even if they officially debuted, they could only take on a few shows. They could only sing and dance for others or play small roles, struggling at the bottom of the entertainment industry. There were countless of such Beijing drifters. Zhou Xiaojia's appearance was not bad, but without strong support, her chances of success were similar to winning the lottery. There was a 99% chance that she would quietly disappear in the tide of the entertainment industry. Perhaps the little girl realized this, so she mustered all her courage to block Lu Chen's path. Asking for guidance, asking for attention, asking for packages. The current Lu Chen really had the qualifications to be crowned with the title of teacher. He asked, "What kind of career do you take? Singing? Dance? Acting or variety shows?" Today's artists could take many more paths than their predecessors. If they couldn't do one, they could play another. If they couldn't do anything, they could sell their face. If they didn't even have a face, they could only sell their moral integrity. Zhou Xiaojia replied, "I want to be a singer like Mr. Chen Fei." Chen Fei? Lu Chen couldn't help laughing and said, "Then I'll give you a chance. Sing me a song." He turned to Jennifer and asked, "Director can I?" "Call me Jennifer." Jennifer smiled and said, "It's our honor that you can guide our students. I'll arrange it." She looked at Zhou Xiaojia, who was surprised, and said sincerely, "Zhou Xiaojia, you're very lucky." Star Fate Art Gallery was very famous in the circle. Many trainees were entrusted with training, and stars and idols often came to guide and encourage their new artists. There were even big shots who came. Lu Chen was not the first famous artist who had been stopped by trainees to ask for guidance, but they basically didn't succeed. The reason was actually very simple. Those big shots were used to being harassed. If they casually agreed to help, it would be really troublesome in the future. In addition, the object of guidance might be one's own competitor. Who would do such a stupid thing? Therefore, Jennifer said that Zhou Xiaojia was very lucky to meet Lu Chen. The trainees who were peeking at them were all stunned. No one thought that Zhou Xiaojia could really persuade Lu Chen to guide her. It was really enviable. Who was Lu Chen? He was an outstanding singer who had recently risen in the pop music world. Not only did he become famous, but he also made two groups famous with his works. Now he was building the Little Tiger Troupe. The background and connections of the Little Tiger Troupe were beyond their reach. They could only be envious but not jealous. But what about Zhou Xiaojia? She was just an ordinary person among a group of trainees. She actually had the opportunity to get Lu Chen's favor, which really made everyone jealous. Some people began to wonder if they should also learn. There was a recording studio in Star Fate Art Gallery. Although the scale and equipment were not comparable to that of a professional recording studio, it was far better than the level of karaoke. It was completely enough for testing. In this recording studio, Zhou Xiaojia sang a song Love is a Bubble Heart to Lu Chen and others. The original singer of this song was Chen Fei. It was a sad love song that was rare for the queen of sweet songs, and it was popular for a time. Lu Chen didn't know why Zhou Xiaojia chose this song. Obviously, she couldn't sing the feelings and artistic conception of the song. Although there was no problem with the tone and atmosphere, it couldn't give the audience the unique charm of the original song. After singing, Zhou Xiaojia realized her problem and bowed to apologize. "I'm sorry, Mr. Lu, I didn't." Lu Chen waved his hand and interrupted Zhou Xiaojia's apology, motioning for her to come out. "Ask your agency to contact my studio after the new year. We'll talk then," he said to Zhou Xiaojia. "You work hard." Zhou Xiaojia, who thought she had no chance, was stunned. Then crystal tears fell. She bowed to Lu Chen again and again. "Thank you, Mr. Lu. Thank you." Lu Chen smiled. "You can go now." After Zhou Xiaojia thanked him profusely and left, Jennifer looked at Lu Chen with a strange look. Lu Chen knew that she misunderstood, but he didn't explain. Lu Chen gave Zhou Xiaojia a chance because Zhou Xiaojia had some special conditions that moved him, nothing else. Jennifer must have misunderstood. When leaving Star Fate Art Gallery, Jennifer sent Lu Chen out and suddenly said to him seriously, "Lu Chen, I know you are a good person." These words were a bit inexplicable, but Lu Chen understood. He couldn't help laughing. Chapter 283. After leaving the Star Fate Art Gallery, Sister Li personally sent Lu Chen to the parking lot. Lu Chen said, "Sister Li, you don't have to see me off anymore. My car is parked in front. See you after the new year." Coming to the Star Fate Art Gallery to see the training of the little tigers was the last thing he would do in the capital. After that, he would drive back to Binhai with Lu Shi to spend the new year with his family. Sister Li smiled and said, "Sorry to trouble you. Jun Jining is really lucky to have you as his teacher." She hesitated for a moment and said, "Lu Chen, Jennifer grew up abroad. Her personality is a bit, how do I put it? I think she can be an ordinary friend. As for other things, don't blame Sister Li for being too talkative." Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Sister Li, you think too much. I don't have any feelings for Director He. He is now at a time when his career is booming. He is so busy that he doesn't even have time to fall in love with Chen Fei, or how can he be in the mood to flirt with other women? Moreover, Lu Chen himself is not that kind of playboy. In the entertainment circle where beautiful women are as common as clouds, there are too many temptations of all kinds. Without the rich experience brought about by his life memories in the dream world, the young Lu Chen may be lost in it. But now, he was able to calmly look at the beauties that kept appearing around him, and he was able to guard his heart. As for Jennifer, she was warm and beautiful, but she was not the type that Lu Chen liked. The reason why Sister Li reminded him was that she had a good relationship with Chen Fei, and she was the one who invited Lu Chen to the Star Fate Art Gallery. If Lu Chen was seduced by someone else, she would not be able to absolve herself from the blame. Now that she saw that Lu Chen was really not tempted, Sister Li was also relieved. She smiled and said, "Jennifer is a good person, but her background is a bit complicated. Well, I wish you a pleasant journey." Lu Chen smiled. Whether Jennifer's background was simple or complicated, it had nothing to do with him. Star Fate Art Gallery might not even come back. After waving goodbye to Sister Li, Lu Chen drove to the studio. The studio was on holiday. Li Feiyu and Chen Xian had left the capital yesterday. Lu Shi was already waiting for him there. There were also big and small bags of luggage. Basically, they were all New Year gifts for family and friends. They were not very expensive, but they were meant to be festive and auspicious. With his luggage and sister, Lu Chen drove towards the coastal highway. The highway was more than 1,000 kilometers long and could go from the capital to Binhai. Lu Chen and Lu Shi flew all the way and returned to Binhai at 9 p.m. He returned to his home in Jingsheng district. "Brother?" Lu Shui was watching TV in the living room. When she saw her brother and sister come in, she immediately jumped up from the sofa and screamed, "Mom, brother and sister are back." As soon as her voice fell, she jumped off the sofa and rushed to Lu Chen without even wearing slippers. She threw herself directly into Lu Chen's arms and almost pushed him down. Lu Chen hugged his sister and couldn't help shaking his head. She was a grown-up girl, but she was still like a child. But his heart was still full of happiness and the joy of going home. She put down the bags in her hands and glared at him. "You'll be 18 after the new year. You're still so careless. Get off me quickly. Don't be like this." Compared with Lu Chen's doting, She was stricter to her sister. Lu Shui curled her lips and obediently got off Lu Chen and took the paper bag in his hand. "Brother, what gift did you buy for me?" "Brother, do you know that you're a big celebrity in our school now? Many people ask me for autographs. Haha, I can make a fortune selling autographs. Give me 500 autographs. I'll save them. I'll show you the love letters that others asked me to send to you later." Even girls from other schools came here. Lu Shui kept talking to Lu Chen as if she wanted to say all the words that she had been holding back for a long time. The unfinished "Autumn in My Heart" had made Lu Chen a household name in Binhai. His reputation was different from the last time he came back. Even Lu Shui had become the focus of the school, Lu Chen's sister. She said that she was worried, but in fact she was proud, like a child who got a big toy and wanted to show off. Lu Chen had a headache. Fortunately, his mother came down and saved his life. "Lu Shui, don't bother your brother," Fang Yun said with concern. "You must be very hungry, right? I'll go to the kitchen and cook some supper for you." Lu Shi said, "Mom, I'll help you." The mother and daughter went into the kitchen. They could still hear the voices coming from inside through the glass door. "I heard a car just now. Did you drive back?" "Yes. It's so tiring and unsafe to drive. Take the high-speed train next time. It's fast and safe. Do you understand? The main reason is that the time is not easy to arrange. We can't book tickets in advance. When we want to buy tickets, there are no tickets and we have to bring things. In fact, we don't need to buy things. Whatever we have in the capital can be found here." Lu Chen sat on the sofa in the living room enjoying Lu Shui's massage. Listening to the conversation coming from the kitchen, he felt happy and at peace. He felt that all the hard work was worth it for this moment. It was a pity that such a beautiful mood was broken by Lu Shui in the blink of an eye. "Brother, my classmates and I all watched The Autumn in My Heart with Chen Fei. They all said it was so beautiful. They wanted to ask what the final outcome was. Did Eunhee recover from her illness? Have you two been together? Even the teachers in the school were watching it. Teacher Zhang also asked you. If my sisters know that you are back, they will definitely—" All right. Lu Chen was really defeated by her. He surrendered and said, "I'll write you an autograph. 100. Lu Shui smiled and said, 100 is not enough. At least 300. By the way, brother, is it true that you and Chen Fei are in a relationship?" Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "What do you mean?" Lu Shui was curious. "Are you really in a relationship? They all said that the two of you are acting for real." Lu Chen sighed. "Children shouldn't meddle in the affairs of adults. Don't talk nonsense. I'll sign 200 for you." Lu Shui was angry. "I'm almost 18 years old. I'm already an adult. At least 300. The brother and sister were bickering. On the other side, Fang Yun and Lu Shi brought out the supper. It was a simple bowl of tomato and egg noodles. Lu Chen was really hungry. He finished a big bowl of noodles. It was very fragrant. He had eaten a lot of delicacies, but this taste of home was something that no hotel could make. The feeling of going home for the new year was really good. Chapter 284. February 7th, New Year's Eve. On the last day of the Year of the Goat, which was also the most important day for the people of China, a light snow inadvertently fell on Binhai, giving everyone an unexpected surprise. This was the first snow in Binhai since the beginning of winter. Although the snowflakes were very small, many children treated it like a treasure. They laughed and jumped outside, setting off fireworks in the falling snow. The crackling sound was everywhere in Jingsheng district, making people feel the arrival of the new year. In the dining room of the Lu family's villa, Fang Yun, Lu Qin, Lu Shi, and Lu Shui were sitting around the dining table and eating New Year's Eve dinner. Originally, Lu Qin wanted to order the New Year's Eve dinner in a hotel. Now that the family situation was better than before, it would be no problem to eat in any five-star hotel in Binhai. However, Fang Yun insisted on making it herself. She thought that the taste of the New Year's Eve dinner at home was the most authentic. The villa was brightly lit, and the living room with the heater on was as warm as spring. The family was happy and harmonious. Jingle. While he was eating, the crisp ringtone of his cell phone suddenly rang. Fang Yun glanced at it and Lu Shui stuck out her tongue. She quickly took out her cell phone from her small bag and answered the call. Hello. After listening for a while, she looked a little strange. She handed the cell phone to Lu Qin. Brother, it's yours. Lu Qin was stunned. Mine? He took Lu Shue's cell phone and said in confusion, Hello. Big Star, I'm Huang Shan. A strong voice came from the phone. Happy New Year. Hello, class monitor. Lu Qin suddenly smiled and said, Why are you calling me at this time? Where are you? Huang Shan was his high school classmate and also the class monitor. When he was in school, Lu Qin had a good relationship with him. However, after he went to Hangzhou to study at the university, they gradually contacted each other less and less. Huang Shan said, I haven't been able to contact you and there was no reply from QQ. I just asked someone for your sister's phone number. You should be in Binhai now. I'm having New Year's Eve dinner in the hotel. Lu Qin was embarrassed. Sorry, the original phone number is useless. He changed his number when he went to the capital the year before last, and only informed a few relatives and friends. Huang Shan didn't know. As for QQ Fein, Lu Qin even let the studio manage his blog so he didn't have time to read it at all. Actually, he had turned down a few commercial performances this new year. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to return home. Several female students said that if they can't invite you, they won't come. Fein of the New Year, and family. Fein Fef Lunar. Huang of the Year. Several female students said that if they Don's Eve's year, they won. Fef Fian of Year. Lu Qin said with a smile, What kind of big star am I? I'm just trying to make a living. Since you said so, I'm sorry if I don't come. Which hall of Jinhao Hotel is it? Lu Qin said with a smile, I'm not a big star. I'm just trying to make a living. Since you said so, I'm sorry if I don't come. Which hall of Jinhao Hotel is it? It had been more than 4 years since he graduated from high school. Because of the changes in his family, he only attended a high school reunion in the second year of graduation. When Lu Qin was in high school, he was a popular person in the school and had many friends. Huang Shan was overjoyed. Rose Hall, 5:30 p.m. Our class teacher, Mr. Yi, will also come and my girlfriend. I told her that I was your classmate, but she didn't believe me. Later, I showed her the photo and she insisted on coming to see you in person. Lu Qin smiled. I don't have 3 heads and 6 arms. See you then. Huang Shan was excited. Okay, then I'll inform everyone. See you the day after tomorrow. Lu Qin hung up the phone and returned it to Lu Shui. Lu Shui asked curiously, Brother, are you going to attend the high school reunion? Lu Qin nodded. Lu Shui said seriously, There must be a lot of female classmates who admire you, right? Remember not to get drunk, or you'll be eaten by others. What? Her head was hit by Lu Shi with chopsticks. Her sister looked angry. What are you talking about? Lu Shui covered her head and felt wronged. Mom, my sister hit me again. It hurts. Fang Yun didn't take sides. You deserve to be hit. Kids should pay attention to what they say. Don't always learn from those things on TV and the internet. Lu Qin, don't spoil your sister. Lu Shui withered like a frosted eggplant. Lu Qin touched her head with a smile and said, Hurry up and eat. We'll set off fireworks after dinner. They had bought fireworks a long time ago. After the reunion dinner, he took his sister to the small lake in the front yard of the villa. According to the tradition, they would first set off 3 16-shot cannons, indicating the prosperity of the new year. Then they would set off colorful bombs, which represented happiness and auspiciousness. One after another, beautiful fireworks bloomed in the night sky, and the fireworks in the surroundings complemented each other. Together they painted a magnificent scene of fireworks that never slept. The bright firelight illuminated the villa from time to time, and also illuminated the faces of the Lu family who were enjoying the fireworks. Fang Yun stood at the door, quietly wiping away the tears at the corner of her eyes. Those were tears of joy. Ever since the accident at home, she had never thought that such a happy scene would appear in front of her again. After setting off the fireworks, Lu Qin took the time to give a red envelope to Lu Shui and said secretly, Brother gave it to you. Don't tell Mom. Keep the flowers for yourself but don't spend them recklessly. Lu Shui held the thick red envelope and was so happy that her eyebrows and eyes were not her eyebrows. She hugged Lu Qin and kissed him on the cheek. Thank you, brother. You're the best. Lu Qin smiled and returned to his room. After closing the door, he lay on the bed and called Qin Feier. After a while, Qin Feier's voice came through the phone. Happy New Year. Lu Qin, Happy New Year. Have you had your New Year's Eve dinner? Qin Feier, yes, I just finished. I'm a little full, so I'm drinking tea to help digest the food. Feels good to be home. I haven't celebrated the New Year at home for several years. This time, I'm going to rest for a few days. A superstar like Chen Feier basically didn't have many holidays, especially during important festivals, which were the busiest times. She had appeared on CCTV's Spring Festival Gala last year. Although she didn't appear on the show this year, there were all kinds of invitations. Many of the invitations were difficult to refuse. Therefore, it was rare for Chen Feier to be able to return to her home for the new year. The call from Lu Chen gave her a chance to talk. Lu Chen didn't intend to listen to her. He quietly listened to her, and the warmth in his heart rippled. He couldn't help but completely relax, hoping that time would pass slowly. In the end, he didn't even know how he fell asleep. Outside the window, the fireworks were still there. Chapter 285. The Qing and River, which originated from the mountains in the western part of Zhejiang province, stretched for hundreds of kilometers all the way to the east, passing through Binhai City and dividing the fourth-tier county-level city in the southeast coast into two parts, the old city in the north and the new district in the south. The Jinhao Hotel was located by the river in the new district in the south. This 37-story building was the first five-star hotel in Binhai City. After 2 renovations, it was still the representative of high-end consumer places in Binhai City. Lu Chen was no stranger to the Jinhao Hotel. He was even very familiar with it. When his father's business was at its peak, he had to entertain important guests at the Jinhao Hotel 5 or 6 times a month. He also rented long-term suites. Lu Chen often went there to eat and drink. Among the 3 sisters, Lu Chen was the only one who had such treatment. Because Lu Qingxing intended to train him to be the successor of the business, he let him come into contact with the business field early. Unfortunately, who could have thought that fate was so unpredictable? Once again coming to the Jinhao Hotel, looking at the magnificent building by the Qing and River, Lu Chen's heart was disappointed. After parking the car in the underground parking lot, he took the elevator to the 3rd floor and was led to the Rose Hall by the waiter. When he opened the door, a wave of hot air accompanied by a wave of sound suddenly hit him in the face. The Rose Hall was one of the best banquet halls in the Jinhao Hotel. There were 4 self-rotating tables in it, which could accommodate up to 60 guests at the same time. When Lu Chen came in, the 4 big tables were almost full. The big screen TV hanging on the east wall was playing a music video. A banner with the words Binhai Second High School Grade 08 Class 1-5, Class Reunion, was hanging on it, which was particularly eye-catching. So lively. Lu Chen was really surprised. There were a total of 58 students in his class and all of them were here. But even if there was a class reunion during the Spring Festival, it was impossible to gather all of them. Because of the traffic jam, it was already past 6 o'clock when Lu Chen arrived. The banquet hadn't started yet. There were cold dishes and drinks on the table. Male and female students were chatting in full swing. The atmosphere was warm and noisy. When he walked into the Rose Hall, a few students noticed him, and they all revealed curious or puzzled expressions. Who is this? The current Lu Chen was almost 10 centimeters taller than when he was in high school. After more than half a year of persistent martial arts training, his physique was far more well-proportioned and sturdy than before. Coupled with the sunglasses he was wearing, his classmates really couldn't recognize him at first. Lu Chen took 2 steps, took off his sunglasses, and smiled at the classmate who was sizing him up. It was not that he was pretending to be cool, but it was not good to go out without sunglasses. It was easy to be recognized and watched. Lu Chen. At this time, a powerful roar sounded, immediately suppressing all the noise in the Rose Hall. The banquet hall instantly quietened down. Everyone's eyes fell on Lu Chen in unison. They were pleasantly surprised and astonished. A burly man jumped up and rushed in front of him. He grabbed his shoulder and laughed. "Big star, you're finally here. Everyone has been waiting for you." Lu Chen sweated. "I'm really sorry. There was a traffic jam on the way." This tall and burly man was the class monitor, Huang Shan. He had a carefree and straightforward personality, and he was very popular among his classmates. Therefore, even though he wasn't very good at studying, he was still elected as the class monitor and sports committee member. Huang Shan smiled and said, "Binhai is getting more and more congested now, especially at this time. There are the most cars." He exchanged greetings with Lu Chen. Many boys and girls surrounded him and said, "Lu Chen, long time no see." "Hello. Zhang Xiaoqiang. Lin Xiao. Wang Fang." Lu Chen greeted them one by one with a smile. After 4 years, it was the first time for most of his classmates here. The familiar faces made countless memories emerge in his heart. Some students didn't come over to take pictures of Lu Chen, who was like a moon surrounded by stars. There were also 4 or 5 waitresses in the Rose Hall. When they recognized Lu Qin, their eyes were all sparkling. If it weren't for their identities, they would have already surrounded him and asked for his autograph and photos. There were also waitresses who ran out of the door and used the walkie-talkie to inform the reception desk that Lu Qin, the big star, was here. It was not easy for Lu Qin to sit down in his seat. There was a nameplate on the table with his name written on it. He was sitting next to Huang Shan, but the girl in the yellow dress next to Huang Shan was very strange. It seemed that she didn't exist in his memory. He couldn't help but ask, "This is?" Huang Shan grinned and said, "Lu Qin, this is my girlfriend, Qin Jingjing." Lu Qin said, "Hello." Qin Jingjing was petite and delicate, so she didn't look good sitting next to the burly Huang Shan. She was delicate and pretty, so she asked with a red face, "Hello, Lu Qin. I like your songs very much and I also like autumn in my life. Can I have your autograph?" Lu Qin nodded and said, "Of course, no problem. I'll sign it for you after dinner." Huang Shan quickly added, "And a photo." Lu Qin smiled and said, "No problem." Qin Jingjing was obviously very happy. She held Huang Shan's thick arm and said, "Thank you." Huang Shan sighed and said, "You're a big star. Today, 40 of our classmates and 20 family members came. They all came because they knew that you were coming." Lu Qin suddenly understood. No wonder there were so many people here and some of them looked unfamiliar. They were all his family members. He looked around and asked in confusion, "Where's Ms. Yi?" Ms. Yi was the class teacher. Huang Shan had said that she would come, but he didn't see her now. Huang Shan explained, "Ms. Yi was going to come, but her old stomach disease came back and she was hospitalized yesterday." Lu Qin looked serious. "Her stomach disease must be very serious. I'll go and see her tomorrow." As the two of them chatted, steaming hot dishes were quickly served. The atmosphere in the banquet hall became lively again. The students who hadn't seen each other for a long time were eating, drinking, talking and laughing. There were more than a dozen students at the same table as Lu Qin, and everyone's topic was basically their own situation. Some students returned to Binhai after graduating from college, or went to work in enterprises, or prepared to take the civil servant exam. Some opened their own shops and businesses, some stayed in the place where they graduated to seek development, and some continued to take the postgraduate exam. After graduating from high school, Huang Shan didn't go to college, but followed his father to do business. After 4 years, although he wasn't very successful, at least he was living a good life. He was very satisfied with his current life. According to him, no matter how much money he made, the most important thing was to be happy. He planned to get married and have children next year. "Lu Qin, if you have time, you must come to my wedding with Jingjing." Qin Jingjing's eyes were shining. Obviously she was also looking forward to it. Lu Qin said with a smile, "I will come if I have time, but I'm too busy with work, so I really can't guarantee it." In the 6 months since last year, his main achievements were an album and a TV series. He didn't do many jobs and endorsements, so he wasn't very busy. But this year's situation was different. There were new albums, new TV series and even movies, as well as Qin Fei's new album, MSN Little Tigers, and so on. With the promotion of his status, all kinds of endorsements and invitations would inevitably come, and he would definitely be busier and busier. "But the red envelope will definitely be delivered." Huang Shan laughed. "That's good. By the way, do you have a girlfriend now?" This question was actually a little sensitive. After all, Lu Qin was now different from ordinary people. Huang Shan was a little careless and couldn't hide things in his heart, so he asked directly, "Everyone says that you and Qin Fei are a couple?" All the students present pricked up their ears and looked very curious. Lu Qin coughed twice and explained, "The entertainment industry is very complicated. Some entertainment reporters like to write nonsense in order to grab the news, and some deliberately hype themselves up, so you can't take it seriously." He picked up some interesting anecdotes in the circle to tell everyone, cleverly avoiding Huang Shan's question. As a star artist, it would be stupid to talk about his feelings in public unless he was hyped up. Even if it was a class reunion. And the students at the other tables saw that they were chatting happily here, and they all came over to toast. Lu Qin got up and said with a smile, "Thank you everyone, but I can't drink when I drive here at night. Besides, as a singer I have to protect my voice, so I'm really sorry. I'll use a drink instead." With so many people coming to toast him, a glass of wine from each person could make him drunk, and he really rarely drinks now. The students could understand, but they asked for a group photo alone. Last year, when Lu Qin rose rapidly in the pop music world and won the championship of Singing China, he became a celebrity in his hometown. Now, with the hit of Autumn in My Heart on Hygiene Satellite TV, his face has been fiercely brushed, and he has become a household name in Binhai. Many of Lu Chen's classmates are proud of him, and often mention him when they chat with others. Are you watching Autumn in My Heart? The hero is my classmate. Have you heard of You Who Sat Next to Me? That's my classmate. I used to play basketball with him. Do you know Lu Chen? Binhai is a small coastal city in eastern Zhejiang. It has a developed economy, a large population, and a large number of private enterprises. The place is very rich, but there is no deep cultural and historical heritage, and there are few celebrities. A star like Lu Chen, who is popular all over the country, is really the only one in his hometown. Huang Shan shouted, I can take a group photo. Everyone line up and I'll charge 5 yuan per person. I'll collect the money. Thank you. Lu Chen immediately became angry. 5 yuan? How can that be? At least 6 yuan and 1 more yuan is a rebate for you. Everyone was amused by the jokes of the two, and the atmosphere at the banquet became more and more harmonious. Their classmates are teenagers and they have graduated from high school for 4 years. For most people, they have not yet been contaminated with the philistinism of society, and still have the spirit and sincerity of young people. Chapter 286. Whether it was a toast or a group photo, Lu Chen didn't refuse anyone. They were all classmates he had known for many years or their relatives and friends. Whether they were real fans or not, Lu Chen didn't need to keep a distance, because they basically didn't have much utilitarian heart. The situation might be different in a few years, but at least Lu Chen didn't need to think too much. Among the classmates, the male students were more reserved, and the female students were much bolder. Some took Lu Chen's arm and some hugged his waist. They took photos left and right, and Lu Chen's face was almost stiff from smiling. When the group photo was almost over, a middle-aged woman in a hotel uniform came to the Rose Hall under the guidance of a waiter. She walked to Lu Chen and said with a smile, Hello, Mr. Lu Chen. It's a great honor for you to visit our Jinhao Hotel. I'm the customer service manager of Jinhao Hotel. Lu Chen nodded, Hello. The middle-aged woman said respectfully, We have a presumptuous request. Can you please sign and take a photo to hang on the Wall of Fame? If you agree, all the expenses in the Rose Hall will be free of charge. Lu Chen suddenly smiled. Large or well-known consumer places often set up a Wall of Fame to enhance the atmosphere. The photos of visiting celebrities were made into photo frames and hung on the wall. Of course, the use of commercial portrait rights must be approved. There were 4 tables at the high school reunion tonight. According to the consumption level of Jinhao Hotel, it was about 20,000 or 30,000 yuan. It was not a very large amount, but it was not very small either. Of course, for the current Lu Chen, this amount of money was nothing. He wouldn't deliberately take advantage of this, not to mention that the expenses of the reunion were all in a Dutch system. But it was precisely because of the relationship between the reunion and the fact that he had been to the hotel many times before that Lu Chen thought about it and agreed, yes, but only the photos can be hung. It can't be used for other aspects of publicity. The middle-aged woman was immediately overjoyed. Of course, no problem. Thank you so much. Binhai's economy was developed, the place was rich, and the scale of the consumer market was very large. In recent years, many 5-star hotels had been opened. Jinhao Hotel was facing fierce competition and was trying to attract customers. Even if it was not a real advertising endorsement, it was still a pleasant surprise for the Jinhao Hotel to be able to get Lu Chen, a local star. Compared with the free bill, it was really a good deal. And Lu Chen's classmates witnessed this incident with their own eyes, and they really felt the power of a star. It was just an autograph and a photo, and tens of thousands of yuan was free of charge. Of course, the students were very happy, they were saving money. This was the effect that Lu Chen wanted. Everyone's happiness was the most important thing. Someone laughed and said, Lu Chen, you have to give me a few more autographs. It will definitely increase in value. Everyone laughed heartily. The classmate party didn't end until 9 o'clock, and there was a KTV singing program later, but Lu Chen didn't go. Although they were all familiar classmates, the distance between them could not be erased. Lu Chen's position was already at a height that everyone needed to look up to. With him present, it was difficult for everyone to really let go. Lu Chen understood that he also cherished the friendship of his classmates, so he chose to go home early. Before leaving, everyone stood together on the small stage in the Rose Hall and asked the waiter to take a group photo. In the end, a female classmate said reluctantly, Lu Chen, sing a song for everyone. Everyone jeered, yes, sing a song before you go. Even the waiters present showed a look of expectation. This was a real original singer. Lu Chen said with a smile, well, what song do you want to listen to? The female classmate bit her lip and said loudly, those flowers. Lu Chen first sang this song on the night of his college graduation, and later sang it in Singing China. It had a great influence among students and was known as the Divine Graduation Song. Lu Chen readily accepted, "Then sing this song." There were audiovisual equipment for performances in the Rose Hall, and Those Flowers was in the karaoke music library. Lu Chen didn't care that the simple music video made by pirated merchants was played on the projection screen. He held the microphone, listened to the familiar accompaniment and sang the song again. "That laughter reminds me of my flowers quietly blooming for me in every corner of my life. I once thought I would stay by her side forever, but today we have left in the vast sea of people." All the classmates stood in front of the small stage quietly listening to him sing. Many female classmates snuggled up to each other, holding hands and humming softly to the song. "La, I miss her la. Is she still there? La, go." They have been blown away by the wind and scattered to the ends of the earth. While humming, tears welled up. The second day after the end of the class reunion, the third day of the first lunar month. In the morning, Lu Chen drove to the Municipal People's Hospital to visit the teacher in charge of his class in the ward. The teacher in charge of Lu Chen's high school is called Yi Xiaolian. She is almost at the age of retirement. Although she is not a famous teacher, her decades of education career can be regarded as having students all over the world. When Lu Chen was in high school in Binhai No. 2 Middle School, he was not a person who could let the teacher worry, but Teacher Yi has always been patient and meticulous in his education. Without the careful teaching of this teacher, he would not have been able to be admitted to Jianghai University. Teacher's kindness cannot be forgotten. Knowing that Teacher Yi was hospitalized due to illness, Lu Chen came to visit her. From Huangshan, Lu Chen already knew the ward number of Teacher Yi, so he took the elevator directly and found the room smoothly. Teacher Yi lived in an ordinary ward with 3 beds, all of which were occupied by patients. Lu Chen did not know the patients lying in the 2 beds near the door and in the middle. The innermost bed was surrounded by 5 or 6 people, both men and women, who were arguing fiercely about something. Although their voices were deliberately lowered, all of them looked emotional, which attracted the attention of the nurses present, with a vigilant and disgusted look. Through the gap of the crowd, Lu Chen saw Teacher Ye's familiar face. She was obviously a lot older, her face was full of tired wrinkles, her hair was white, and her eyes were closed as if she was asleep. But the sadness on her face showed that her heart was not calm at this moment. Lu Chen did not immediately go over, but stood at the door and listened for a moment. From the mouths of those who surrounded the bed, he heard words such as expenses, care, share, judgment, and so on. Lu Chen could not help but think of some rumors about Teacher Ye's family that he had heard before, and his heart understood a little. An inexplicable anger surged in his heart. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.